village. Saint Hilarion the Great, as he is sometimes called, was born in Palestine. After his conversion to Christianity, he spent some time with Saint Anthony of Egypt, another holy man drawn to solitude. Hilarion lived a life of hardship and simplicity in the desert, where he also experienced spiritual dryness that included temptations to despair. At the same time, miracles were attributed to him, and as his fame grew, a small group of disciples wanted to follow him. He began a series of journeys to find a place where he could live away from the world, and he finally settled on Cyprus, where he died in 371 at about age 80. Hilarion is celebrated as the founder of monasticism in Palestine. Much of his fame flows from the biography of him written by Saint Jerome. Prominent Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre was brutally bloodied, beaten, and raped by a well-known prime minister in a series of savage encounters that finally helped the teenager break free from Epstein's spell, according to her posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. In it, Giuffre recalled begging Epstein to step in after the unnamed politician forced her to beg for her life, but the pedophile coldly told her it was simply part of her job. Giuffre simply referred to the deranged man as the prime minister, saying she was afraid he would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. In the past, however, she pointed to Israel's prime minister Ehud Barak in court filings as one of the many elites, a claim he has repeatedly denied. She said she couldn't stay a fool after that attack. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
It's the WWE and the UFC for live talk radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio, the way it should be.
Remember how I was fiddling with the idea of trying to do all of my internet browsing with one window / set of tabs open? I forgot to say that I'm in the second week of doing it now. And life is better and simpler, I must say. Greetings to all of you. Mike Church Show here, live, asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first Galactic Empire!
Is that you moving stuff or buckshot?
Society!
No, you can't!
So I'm calling on
All right, our call-in line, telephone number 844-527-8723, 8445-CRUSADE. Email address, same as it ever has been. I am KingDude at protonmail.com. And Crusader Stadium chat room is open at crusadechannel.com/chat. And thanks to all of you who have been hanging out in the chat room. Numbers are growing slowly but steadily. We got to, up to 74 chatters yesterday at one point in time. Join us at crusadechannel.com/chat. Listen, we're welcoming all of you listening in on AM talk radio stations, including 990 AM WGSO in New Orleans. By the way, if you're listening in New Orleans, here's a funny to get your morning started from the Channel 4 meteorologist dude. If you didn't get rain, it's personal. Mother Nature doesn't like you. Stop taking your anger out on me. We haven't had rain in 6 weeks.
It's so dead.
And, you know, we started off the summer because 2 summers ago, we set record high temperatures like 10 days in a row. The highest it got up to was 108. It was in... was it August or July? I think it was August, early August. We had a 60-some-odd day long drought. We got no rain. We had the threat of afternoon thunderstorms for a couple of weeks, but no rain, none. It was literally a Hank Williams Jr. song. And the Mississippi River, she's a going dry. Dun-dun-dun. It literally was going dry. The USS Kidd, which is a former U.S. naval vessel that's docked for tourists in Baton Rouge on the Mississippi, it kind of floated in its own stationary dry dock or wet dock, if you will. The USS Kidd sank to actually was sitting in the cradle, in the wet dock cradle, where she's usually kind of buoyant and sitting above it. She's actually sitting in it, and you could see the whole structure that they built for the wet dock. I mean, the Mississippi River was down, 40 feet? It probably is like that now. I haven't crossed it in a while, or I haven't crossed it where I could look at it, but it's pretty bad. So it was supposed to rain this weekend. They were like, we're gonna get rain Saturday and Sunday. We're gonna get rain on Sunday, but we didn't get any rain. We got like a half an inch, maybe overnight Saturday night, and that was it. So that's what he's talking about. And it's bad. I mean, everyone's lawns around here are brown. They're all dead. And since we're on our own water system here in this wretched HOA, you can't afford to turn your sprinklers on because the water is so expensive. So in any event, pray for rain. Pray for the people of Southeast and Southwest because they had rain all across the South. There's like a tropical depression. I forget what they call it, weather event number 87 or whatever it is, that's just sitting like right in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico is getting just hammered. The lower Caribbean's getting mauled. Every day they're pleading for an end to the rain. And what's happening here is that there's a high pressure center. I saw the weather guy explain it yesterday. There's a high pressure system that just one is created and dissipates, and the next one just moves in. It's just parked right over southeast Texas and all across Louisiana and into Mississippi. So I hope it'll break. And Jacqueline says in Florida they're getting too much rain. So that system is just parked. I mean, it literally just parked right here. What am I giving inaccurate info?
No, it says the Mississippi River is at all-time low, 3.04 feet.
Yeah. Maggie's saying that the Mississippi River is at an all-time low, and that's saying a lot. It had recovered because we got a lot of rain. It had recovered, and it's terrible. So in any event, pray for rain to South Louisiana, Southeast Texas.
3 feet. It's supposed to be 7
Yeah, it needs rain and lots of it. Speaking of nature, American beef farmers, cattle ranchers as they're called, are in quite the pickle, and they're not happy about it, and they shouldn't be. So a couple of days ago, I guess it was when Trump was on Air Force One and he was giving his 35,000-foot press conference, and somebody asked him, it was a woman, asked him a question, why are you ordering and buying and purchasing beef from Argentina when American cattle ranchers are struggling and can't pay their bills, and supposedly 77 of them go out of business every day? That's according to one beef industry account on Twitter that I saw, or an X that I saw today. It's not just a Texas problem. It's not just a Louisiana problem. It's a problem across the United States, and it's all caused by the USDA. And so yesterday there was a letter, as a matter of fact, I have it, that was written by Meriwether Farms. Let's see here. It was in the... None of you would have seen it because almost none of you are in the official Mike Church Show Signal Chat group. You could be. All you got to do is ask, but you're not. Meriwether Farms wrote this to President Trump. We love you and support you, but your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina to stabilize beef prices would be an absolute betrayal to the American cattle rancher. We understand there are larger economic and geopolitical dynamics at play, including countering CCP influence in countries in our hemisphere. But the practice of solving problems over there before solving problems here on our soil is what contributed to the downfall of our country. Americans are always come last. We understand beef prices are high, and we admire your concern for all Americans, but this is not the fault of the American producer. This is the fault of politicians who have allowed BRICS-aligned entities to dominate the meat industry, that participate in price fixing and who also continually lie to their consumers. Washington, for decades, has facilitated the squeezing of our own ranchers while allowing these entities to flood the market with cheaper, lower quality imports. And the American people don't even know these products are foreign because they are allowed to be marked as product of the USA. I always say this, and I always tell Mrs. Chur when she goes to buy any beef at the several stores that we shop at, that if it says product of the USA, it's probably foreign. It almost has to say beef produced in the United States. We did a show on this, an entire show on this. What they do is they raise the cows in China or some other hellistic place, and then they slaughter them there, not using American slaughter methods, and there's no overseeing who's running these ranchers, what they're feeding these cows, heaven knows. And then they put them on these giant reefer container ships, and they ship them over here. And then the Chinese beef or the Vietnamese beef or wherever the hell it is then brought to a slaughterhouse, a USDA slaughterhouse, and it is slaughtered in the United States, and therefore they can slap a label on it that says product of the USA. When in fact that cow's carcass was farmed in a foreign land. This happens all the time. They do it in Mexico. They had some. You told me a story the other day about some. Somebody was asking about some beef in, or they had labeled it product of Mexico.
It was the beef and Vita.
Yeah. And was it labeled product of Mexico, or was it just?
It said product of Mexico.
It said
On the label, it actually said product of Mexico, and then it had a neon sign said, "This is not product of USA."
Okay, so as long as the grocer's not trying to lie to you and is saying, look, I got a great deal on this. I got it for $9.99 a pound or whatever it is, and I'm passing the savings on to you, but you need to understand that this was grown that these cows were raised in Mexico. I'm fine with that. I'm going to buy American beef anyway, if I can get my hands on it. Here's the problem, as Thomas Massey keeps pointing out. They're able to lie by saying this is a product of the USA. And then Meriwether Farm says on top of all this, there is only chaos coming from the Department of Agriculture. There is no true guidance, mixed messaging, and a copious amount of photo ops. There is no one to trust over there that truly understands the issues and isn't bought out by or aligned with big ag industries. You know, we talked to Brian Kay about this and about Brooke Rollins. And Brooke Rollins talks a good game. Trump talks her up at cabinet meetings, that she's doing a good job at USDA, et cetera, et cetera. But if you will recall, Bobby Kennedy, when he was running for president, was giving a lot of you, if you're a beef rancher, was giving a lot of you hope. And why was he doing that? Because he was meeting with Joel Salatin. He's still friends with Joel Salatin. And if you don't know who Joel Salatin is the proprietor of Polyface Farms in Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley, in part of the Shenandoah Valley. It's in Virginia. Joel's been a guest on this show. We've talked to Joel several times. Joel is an advocate of regenerative farming and allowing American farmers to sell their products wherever in their state they want to sell them, and getting the feds out of getting them out of the way. Bobby Kennedy also had a town hall meeting with 8 or 9 all regenerative farmers. Salatin was there. Will Harris of Georgia was there. Dr. Ryan Cole of Montana was there. Who's the guy that Brian Kay likes so much? Dave the Good. I think Dave the Good was there. Nicole Shanahan was part of all this. So if anybody knows about this, it's Bobby Kennedy. I know that he knows about it. Now, why they haven't done anything about it is beyond me. Maybe they're just so busy with vaccines and trying to figure out where autism comes from and solving that problem and then the obesity problem. But they need to get to this, and they need to provide relief to American cattle ranchers, you know, who are all now opening X accounts up. There's a spot that runs now on Fox News. I see it 6, 8, 10 times a day now, from a an American beef producing company that you can order mail order, basically. You know, you get every Christmas Omaha Steak Company does the big hoop-de-doo where they sell you the box of IQF beef. You know, you get a couple of fillets, you get a couple of burgers, you get a couple of ribeyes or whatever, and it comes in one package, and it's all shrink wrapped down to size, and it's like nitrogen frozen. It's not going to thaw out when you ship it. If you put it in a dry ice container. That's just one example. But the fact is that the United States Department of Agriculture doesn't want people selling beef over state lines, unless you're one of the big ag-approved companies to do it. And this is wreaking havoc. As a matter of fact, we can play the soundbite. I didn't give it to you, but it's on my Twitter. We can play it later from WMUR 9 channel TV in New Hampshire, where they did a report on this, and they went to an old boy's farm, and they talked to him, and he was saying, like, look, you know, business is great if the state would just let me sell my beef. And so New Hampshire, he can't get his beef to a USDA slaughterhouse, so he's not allowed to sell it in a store. The whole thing is just a disaster. It's a regulatory nightmare, and it needs to come to an end. And I would imagine that if enough farmers complain and raise their voices loud enough that someone in the Trump orbit will hear them, and maybe it's Secretary Kennedy, and will do something about it. This is a problem that is completely and totally man-made. And then the Meriwether Farms dude continues. The American cattle rancher is one of the last symbols of independence we have in the nation. But the continued manipulation and betrayal by the very people who claim to support them needs to end immediately. While only representing 1% of the population, the work is tireless, daily, in poor conditions, with low margins, without thanks, all in order to keep this country fed. We would be a failed nation if we continued to betray the very people who put food on the table for us. There are so many voices on the outside that support you and want to see you succeed. Maybe it's time to start listening to them. Your team knows how to get in touch with us. Sincerely, Meriwether Farms. This is a letter that was sent, an open letter to POTUS on POTUS's X account. And as I said earlier, you would hope that some of the good people that have access to Secretary Kennedy would be screaming at this or saying, dude, are you listening? Are you hearing the pleas of the American cattle rancher out there? It's a problem that could be solved like that. But then again, ConAgra, Midland Farms, and all the big ag producers would have to take a haircut. And then, and by the way, they are the ones that are primarily responsible for the imported fake American beef. So a little truth in advertising out there when it comes to, and I was thinking of Clara Peller from the Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef? Where's the beef? Such a wonderful little piece of Americana, that Wendy's commercial that just became legendary, where the three old ladies go to the burger joint and they order a hamburger and a bun comes out. It's about this big, but the patty is about this big. So you take the top of the bun off, and they're looking and going, and they have their reading glasses on. The old ladies are like, "Where's the beef? Where's the beef?" And then Clara Peller picks the phone up. I want to speak to the president. And she calls and said, I want to know, where's the beef? Truly is a where's the beef situation today. Also, yesterday, and there's a lot to talk about here today, actually. We have Trader Jill Leigh, our very own Leigh, on with us in the final hour of the program today. Last time Leigh was on, she received such praise for what we were talking about with her travails in the medical system and how hospitals are basically out killing people now. Well, today we're going to talk demographics, and we're going to talk women's proper roles in society and what has been done by women to screw everything else up. So you all love Trader Jill Leigh. She'll be with us in the last hour of the program. The LSU Fighting Tiger baseball team went to the White House. If you're a college baseball fan, regardless of which team you pull for, you had to enjoy yesterday. The entirety of the LSU baseball program was invited to the White House. And President Trump talked about the 5 College World Series that it's more than that. That LSU has won. They won this past year in such a convincing fashion. A lot of people are saying that it's one of the best college baseball teams ever. And so Trump invited them to the White House, and kind of like he did the Philadelphia Eagles after they won the Super Bowl, and he congratulated them. And it was cool because the LSU baseball coach, Brad Neffendorf, presents Trump with a pair of purple and gold, my two favorite colors, purple and gold and white and purple LSU Tiger Trump 47 baseball jerseys. And they gave him a couple of bats that a couple of LSU bats that all the players signed, and it's just really cool. Stuff like that to me goes a long way towards kind of the generic esprit de corps, and people see the president, congratulating winners, if you will, and a uniquely American sport. We'll be back.
The Crusade Channel, your talk podcast and Fiorella File station.
Fiorella is the literary savage who skips sensitivity training. She is the librarian who reads and reviews books so you don't have to.
Hello and welcome to the Fiorella Files. On my show, I will be introducing you to books, classic and contemporary, that you must read, should enjoy reading, or should not touch with an 11-foot barge pole.
10 to 11 a.m. Central, every Monday on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Listen up, Red, White, and Dude Nation fans. Now, if you wear one new t-shirt this spring, then make sure you pour yourself into a new Mike Church Show neon microphone t-shirt. Printed on beautiful 100% soft cotton tees, the logo's so cool. It's even more cool than burning unburdened by what has been stickers. Available in sizes medium through Alvin Bragg sized 3X. Be the best dressed dude at your cigar shop or the coolest dressed gal at Junior's soccer match. Order today at shop.mikechurch.com. Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Today's report brought to you by Mike Church's Beast and Butt Rub, a rub that's won championships and will help make you a champ in your kitchen or backyard. Check out Mike's recipes and pick up a bottle or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow was up 1.12% at close, the S&P 1.07%, NASDAQ 1.37%. In National Day calendar news, today is National Apple Day. There are 7,000 recognized apple varieties. Bet you didn't know that. It's Back to the Future Day. In 1989, millions of fans of the movie trilogy Back to the Future watched the first signs of time travel through the windshield of that infamous DeLorean. It's National Pharmacy Technician Day, Witch Hazel Day, Reptile Awareness Day, Pumpkin Cheesecake Day, and Pro-Life Day of Silent Solidarity. On this day, participants, primarily students, voluntarily take a vow of silence to bring attention to the pro-life perspective. Our quote of the day, "O my Lord, inflame my heart with love for you, that my spirit may not grow weary amidst the storms, the sufferings, and the trials." Saint Faustina Kowalska. And our saint of the day had reached so much fame by the time of his death, his body had to be secretly removed. Saint Hilarion. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
Now in our 9th year, Crusade Channel News is simply the best daily newscast on all of radio.
News that informs and inspires and doesn't destroy any critical thinking brain cells.
Catch it at 6, 8, and 3 p.m. on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and news radio.
The way it should be.
Sing it, Billy.
I'm gonna make you stand and deliver, then give me love in the old-fashioned way. Whoa, I'll climb any mountain. I'll do anything.
The fastest 3 hours in all of broadcast media, the Mike Church Show's own. 34 years young, folks. We are coming up on the grand celebration of year number 10 of the Crusade Channel. One of the things I'm supposed to be doing is roasting all of the people that didn't survive that entered the fray and didn't survive in the 10 years since we began on November the 11th, 2015 with the Crusade Channel. We should actually get that rolling here directly. This portion of the program brought to you by the Founders Trading Post store at shop.mikechurch.com. So I talked to Kyle yesterday, the Beta Roasting Company, and I asked him, I said, okay, dude, tell me, level with me. What's going on with the tariffs? And he said, well, you already had a price increase. I'm like, yeah, thanks, dude. And he goes, dude, what do you want me to do? He said, Trump tariffed Brazil 50%. So if you're getting any of your beans, and we have Brazilian beans in Capuchin Holy Roast, then the price, then they got tariff 50%. He doesn't know about the Colombian tariffs because they haven't actually set them yet. But I thought he was going to announce them yesterday. They didn't. But in any event, get your Capuchin Holy Roast coffee while you can still get it at the great price that it is. One of the best blended coffee blends out there that you'll ever try. As a matter of fact, I'm drinking it today in my Capuchin Holy Roast, one-of-a-kind Mountain Arts pottery mug that you can only get at shop.mikechurch.com. We have the coffee in whole bean and in ground. Get you a bag or 16 today. While we can hold the line on the price at shop.mikechurch.com, don't forget the great books that are hiding in plain sight in the Founders Trading Post store at shop.mikechurch.com, including that great new little book we sold out of. Are we getting more? The Weird Catholic Handbook? Okay. Check them all out. There's My Humility of Heart. How about My Life of Washington book? Just talking out loud about this, Sir Charles Coulombe at the St. Benedict Center conference that I attended and spoke at, and interviewed Sister Marie Gabrielle, interview which is exclusive and will come out any day now. Sir Charles talked about the post-Enlightenment romantics, and even though he was with a Catholic and in front of a Catholic audience, he singled out one American, and that was Washington Irving, which got my attention. I went, wait a minute, I know a little bit about this guy. I wrote a biography of him for the introduction to Life of Washington, the Founding Father Films version, Volume 1, which is my effort to put the 5 volumes back into print so I can condense Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Irving's into one volume, and wrote a bio of Irving. And Sir Charles did a masterful job of telling the story of how Washington Irving was the first American romantic. And he listed some of his works. And it was cool because I knew a little bit about it, and Charles and I had a great conversation on stage after his talk. We talked for almost a half an hour about Washington Irving. In any event, that book, Life of Washington, still in the Founders Trading Post store in hardback. It's the best book that we ever put back into print because we had a hand in making it, and it's just a great read because it's written by a novelist. It's not a history book. It's a novel, and you can get yourself a copy in hardback at shop.mikechurch.com. Lots of talk yesterday about this stupid, ridiculous, no kings nonsense. I like the point, or the people that, and it's not just one person, there are a lot of people that are pointing this out. We have no king, we don't want our king, you're not acting like a king, you're not going to be our king. Your king, if he is a king, won the popular vote, and it wasn't even close, won every swing state, won a landslide of electoral college votes, and won over 75% of every county. If you're just looking at counties, 75+% of every county in the 2024 election. And everything that he is doing in his administration, he campaigned on. He told everyone that when we get back in that White House, that we're going to fix it. We're going to fix it up. So this nonsense here with Gruesome Newsom and these people losing their collective gourds, and this is all theater. He's tearing our sacred White House down. He's removing the back wall on one of the wings so that it can be connected with the new construction that he is paying for. But just a little bit of a historical, I love doing history. Did you know that in 1946, the Truman, 1945, I'm sorry. No, 1946. I had it right. In 1946, after Roosevelt died and Truman took over as vice president and became president, Truman was just, I didn't know this. Harry and Margaret Truman swore that the White House was haunted. This is an actual story here. This isn't me making one up. This is actually true. And there was one particular chandelier, and I think it's called the Blue Room. And whenever they were doing an event in the Blue Room, the chandelier would move. Margaret Truman got freaked out because she was in there one evening and no one else was in the room. And she went into the room, and the chandelier began swinging. And she heard thumping coming from inside one of the walls. Well, President Truman also heard thumping. There were walls that actually moved. There was a ceiling that actually appeared to move. Now, they would ultimately find out that almost all of these poltergeists, that they thought they had poltergeists, that all these poltergeists were the result of the fact that the White House was built at the turn of the 19th century, and that the British almost burned it to the ground, and when they built it back up, they didn't do a very good job. And that they never anticipated that there was actually going to be foot traffic and people living on the second floor. And so this beam structure that they made for the White House, it just wasn't made to support that kind of weight. Plus the fact that you would had to have added indoor plumbing when that came along. You would had to have added electrical wires and telephone wires and what have you here. So the White House was in a terrible state of repair. So much so that they had a commission. The commission studied the problem. And here, this is just from the Wikipedia page, but I thought it was interesting. In early 1946, during a formal reception in the Blue Room, the First Lady noticed the very large crystal chandelier overhead swaying and its crystals tinkling. The floor of the Oval Study above moved noticeably when walked on, and a valet was then attending the president while he was taking a bath. Truman described a potential scenario of him in his bathtub falling through the floor into the midst of the Daughters of the American Revolution tea, wearing nothing more than his reading glasses. In early 1947, a stretching chandelier in the East Room and another swaying in the Oval Study caused further alarm. Floors no longer merely creaked, they swayed. And then all this, so they had an investigation. The Public Buildings Administration was called in to investigate the condition of the White House. They recommended that the second floor should be reconstructed as soon as possible, electricity use should be cut to a minimum, and that further investigation be undertaken. In June of 1948, a leg of Margaret Truman's piano crashed through the floor in her second floor sitting room and through the ceiling of the family dining room. Does anybody know any of this? The investigators determined that the west end of the second floor was sinking. So this was an election year, so they couldn't do anything about it. But as soon as the election was over, and after Truman defeated Dewey, not the other way around, they called the engineers back in there, and they determined that the White House needed a rebuild. So I wonder if Gavin Gruesome Newsom was lying in his bed awake, terrified at recalling the horrific damage that was done to the people's White House by Harry Truman. Because you know what they did? They gutted the entirety. There's pictures of it because people lock in pictures. You can see the pictures of the reconstruction. They tore the entire innards out of the White House and rebuilt the whole damn thing. I mean, look at the one picture, the gutted interior of the White House, May 1950, and you look at this and you go like, there's nothing in there, just walls. That's it. The only thing that was left was the exterior walls. I only bring this up because these people are acting as though our sacred house and building has never been touched. Dude, they gutted the entire thing. Where were you then? That one picture, you can see there's a bulldozer inside the White House because they stripped the whole thing to the bare exterior walls. They had all kind of scaffolding that they put up to hold the exterior walls because they were afraid they were going to collapse. And then they went about the business of rebuilding the entirety of the White House. For all of you Khazarian types out there, you probably know this. When the Trumans got about the business of rebuilding the inside, one of the things the 33rd degree Mason, Harry Truman did, and this is marked, is he laid a Masonic cornerstone and to the new foundation that they poured on the floor and in the just outside in the hallway, I believe, of what is today called the Oval Office. So, in any event, the point is that the White House and the Oval Office has been rebuilt before. There have been things that have been added to it. By the way, did anyone throw a hissy fit when Truman added the now famous Truman balcony? You know that balcony that Trump was on in 2020 when he had to accept the nomination for re-election, and your boy Christopher Macchio's brother came and sang Ave Maria on the lawn. The Trumps were standing on what? On the second floor, a balcony. What's that balcony? That's the Truman balcony. Was it there when Coolidge was president or Roosevelt? No, it wasn't. They had to rip that part of the White House wall off so they could extend it out and put the balcony. The point being, houses from time to time need renovations. But you hear your average member of the Democrat Party literally crying on national television that Trump ripped the wall, the back wall of the White House. Oh, the humanity of it all. It's so horrible. I hate it. Look at the pictures that Maggie is posting in the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. Look at it. There's nothing left in the interior except studs. And even in some places, there aren't even studs. So, in any event, Gavin Newsom he is tearing, just like he's shredding the Constitution, he's shredding the White House. So he can add a proper ballroom to the back of it that he's going to pay for. He didn't. Unlike you, when he spends money to build things, they actually get built. You know, the last thing you ever built, Gavin, was probably with your Lincoln log set when you was a little children. And I bet you that probably crumbled to the ground. So it's much ado about absolutely nothing here. But then again, this is to come to be expected here, because the children that are part of our political class here, they don't have any real world skills. So they can't understand anytime something is done in the real world that might actually benefit someone down the road, but requires just a little bit of work and a little bit of elbow grease. So I thought I would just I would throw this in. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's funny. Mr. President, tear down this wall. And he is going to tear the wall down. In other news, this is really interesting. Judge Jeanine Pirro yesterday had a press conference, and she never called him Big Balls, but
She used his real name.
she used his real name, and she said that the people that attacked Big Balls, who a leftard judge let walk away with not even a slap on the wrist, she goes like, you're not getting away with that. Don't leave D.C. because I'm going to prosecute you, and I'm going to get a conviction. You're going to jail. 2 more teenagers have been charged in connection with the August attack on Big Balls. The DOJ staffer that partially spurred President Trump's crackdown on crime in the federal district, U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, top federal prosecutor in Mordor, said yesterday that 2 suspects were arrested last week in connection with their role in the carjacking attack on DOJ staffer Edward Korestein. That's Big Balls' real name. Suspects were identified as Lawrence Cotton Powell and Anthony Taylor, 19 and 18. Both were charged with attempted unarmed carjacking, 2 counts of robbery, and 2 counts of assault with intent to commit robbery. A total of 10 people were involved in the carjacking and attack, which left Korestein badly injured. Now, remember, what was Big Balls actually doing? He was responding to the cries of a fair maiden. He was attempting to walk a woman, a young lady, to her car so that these thugs would not attack her, and they attacked her anyway, and he got in between them, and the rest, as they say, is history. Earlier in October, Korestein sent a post online that only 2 of the 10 attackers have been identified and arrested. The arrest of Cotton Powell and Taylor bring the total number now. People arrested for the attack up to 4. Pirro said at the news conference, "This case underscores the escalating challenges we face in confronting crime in Washington, D.C. Earlier this month, 2 15-year-old boys, 2 15-year-olds, a boy and a girl, were involved in the attack, were sentenced to probation. Nothing to see here, citizen. A little slap on the wrist. Make sure you see your probation officer every 6 months or so." And then we'll play you what Judge Jeanine said later in the program. You know, there's another case that there's a dude who beat an old lady and a 12-year-old up somewhere in western North Carolina, and a Biden appointee judge, or no, Obama appointee judge, dismissed the charges against him. No, they sentenced the guy to 15 days in jail. This dude beat an old lady, literally beat her, and her 12-year-old grandson was trying to defend her. He got 15 days in jail. That was the sentence. Dude is another one of these recidivists who has a proverbial rap sheet longer than the length of your arm. None of this is going to change. None of this kind of crime is going to change until, number one, women stop raising the men and men start raising the men. That's the first problem that's got to be fixed. And number 2, women stop appointing and stop choosing the judges. Number 3, women stop messing with and stop altering the sentences and the sentencing. And then number 4, real men are going to have to stand up and be real men. And in some cases, there is going to be vigilante justice. And that's just the way it's going to happen. Because you can only push certain people so far before they're going to go like, you know what, screw that. We tried it your way. We went into your silly court. Your court told us no. Your court told us, your judges said that there's nothing to be done here and that we should give this guy another chance or 15 or so. And we don't want these people loitering about in our community. So they're going to take them out. And that's what's going to happen. Now, reading social media is not an indication of this, is what is actually being done. And there are cases of people like, you can't take the law into your own hands. If the law isn't taking violent crime seriously, then people will take the law into their own hands so that they don't become victims of said, or ostensibly so they don't become victims of said violent crime. And that's just what's happening out there. But now, by the way, sure, everyone wants to talk about the government shutdown. We're in what, day 21 today now? So they had a vote yesterday, went down in flames again. It was the 12th vote in the shutdown, the same bill that Democrats had voted for when Biden was president, pretty much almost identical in the verbiage. You now have SNAP programs that are being, the states are saying they run out of money, and that they don't have the money to feed. Josh Hawley is crying on X yesterday about Missourians aren't going to starve to death. We must provide food and SNAP relief and this and that and the other. What a wonderful opportunity for American Christians to start acting all Christian and stuff and pick up the slack and prove that the government fake charity safety net isn't needed. That if fellow Americans are actually starving and need actual food, we're on it. We'll take care of it. We don't need the government to step in and, again, provide fake charity. I tell you what I saw on Sunday after Mass. We go to the St. Patrick's in downtown New Orleans, so the way home is down Poydras Avenue, right in front of the Superdome. Come to a stoplight at Poydras Avenue, and there's a panhandler there. There's a beggar, whatever you want to call him, a hustler. Dude has a sign. I can't read what's on the sign because it's just 6 sentences. I'm like, bro, we'll work for food. Used to work. Remember that? We'll work for food? Don't ever see him anymore. Kid couldn't have been 20 years old. Looked in perfect health, tanned, fit, ready to go. Had clothes on, had shoes on that didn't look to be in a state of ill repair. I almost rolled my window down to yell at him, go get a job. But instead, there he was with his can, standing on a popular street corner with a sign wanting people to throw money at him. This is the problem. This is fake. Again, this is fake charity. It would be a sin or an act against charity to deprive that young man of the opportunity, and it's going to be required of him to go and figure out a way to provide for himself. In other words, go get a job. It's not that hard. We keep hearing that this is this and this and that. There's always work. There's always work for anyone that wants to find it. And there's always an opportunity for charity here, too. And again, what a great opportunity for the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops to step up and say, you know what, the church has it. In our dioceses, no one is going to go hungry. We will raise the food to feed the needy.
I need something to listen to challenge my faith and tickle my not-so-nice funny bone.
Well, you won't hear anything about Mondays coming or cheeseburgers in paradise, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays.
Oh, this Boats, Beaches, Bars, and Ballads fan sees what you did there.
Weekdays at 2 Central on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Have you ever dreamed of being like Brian Kay or Mitter Monday and being a free Farm Friday star? But you know you have no shot at it because you can't tell the difference between a U and a Y-O-U. Well, lucky for you, we have an entire bookstore filled with the books you need to become so passionate for farming, you'll soon be wearing a Brian Kay Calls Me for Advice t-shirt. So learn to grow by growing your library with books by shopping at shop.mikechurch.com.
You lit the fuse, I stand confused. You were the best for me, but you turned me out. You dropped the bomb on me, baby. You dropped the bomb on me, but you turned me on. You dropped the bomb on me, baby. You dropped the bomb on me. You were my thrills, you were my fears. You dropped the bomb on me. You turned me out.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Silk Feather. Ma'am, what would you like to drink?
Oh, I'll take the Dom. The Dom Perignon, of course.
Ah, the lady has taste. And you, sir? I'll just take the Diet Coke. Oh, dear. You know, what I miss about the good old days before social media and AI ruined everything?
Let me guess. No fat people outside of the circus, and Ozempic was the name of a demon in C.S. Lewis story, right?
Well, yeah, but besides that, classic radio shows with actors and actual stories.
Well, lucky for the human race, the Crusade Channel is rolling over 900 episodes of a show called Suspense.
Tweak your mystery-solving muscles over lunch and catch episodes of Suspense, weekdays noon till 2 on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and classic radio the way it should be.
I like my version of suspense. Hey!
Doesn't work without me.
Hey, it's a KingDude with another free lesson in Stuff You Really Don't Need to Know. Harvest was Great Britain's name for the season that follows summer, until autumn began to displace it at the end of the 16th century. But English immigrants to America preferred fall to autumn. And did you know that fall is caused by the sun setting below the equator in the northern hemisphere sky, also known as the equinox, which continues south to the winter solstice. Here's another seasonal fact for you. The flag of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is also known as the Carillon de Sacre-Cœur, or the original flag of Quebec. And did you know that our founders Trading Post is the exclusive maker and distributor of this one-of-a-kind, full-size, beautiful flag? Order a Sacred Heart flag right now and take $5 off, and I'll throw in a matching Sacred Heart flag bumper sticker for free. You know, don't cost nothing. Hurry, fall is here, and flag flying season in the north is limited. To order, go to mikechurch.com/flag or call us at 844-527-8723. The Carillon de Sacre-Cœur flag will beautify any indoor or outdoor space it flies in, but supplies are limited. So order today at mikechurch.com/flag or call us 844-527-8723. The Crusade Channel and the Slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Mary Joseph with your Saint of the Day. Today is October 21st, the feast of St. Ursula and her companions who died in 383. When the pagan Saxons started to invade England in the 4th century with the intention of destroying the Catholic faith and the purity of all the young English virgins, a great group of English girls, numbering 10 friends of St. Ursula, and each having 1,000 companions, which made their number in all 11,011, fled from England to the continent. In the year 383, St. Ursula and her 11,010 companions were all slaughtered for their purity and their faith. This great martyrdom occurred in Cologne in Germany. A shrine has been erected to them there, containing as many of their bones as could be rescued. A religious order of nuns in the Catholic Church in honor of St. Ursula was established by St. Angela Merici in the year 1535. They are known as the Ursulines. Today is also the feast of St. Hilarion. He was born of infidel parents at Abatha in Palestine and was sent to study at Alexandria, where he became famous for his talents and the purity of his morals. He embraced the Christian religion and made wonderful progress in faith and charity. He was constantly in the church, devoted himself to prayer and fasting, and was full of contempt for the enticements of pleasure and earthly desires. He never changed or washed the sackcloth he wore, saying it was superfluous to look for cleanliness in a hair shirt. He devoted himself to the reading and study of the Holy Scripture, His food consisted of a few figs and the juice of herbs, which he never took before sunset. His mortification and humility were wonderful, and by means of these and other virtues, he overcame many terrible temptations of the evil one, and cast innumerable demons out of the possessed in many parts of the world. Saint Hilarion, Saint Ursula and her companions, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for this brief summary of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow is the feast of Saint Mary Salome. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent by visiting stphilomenaconvent.org. I am Sister Mary Joseph, and until next time, may God bless and Mary keep you.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Capuchin Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com.
This is Capcom. We are ready to go for launch at the Crusade Channel launch site.
New show lineup.
Go.
Broadcasting live on X, YouTube, and Rumble.
We'll go fly.
Breaking news updates.
Go.
The Mike Church Show Band.
We're go.
We're go for launch for the Crusade Channel 4.0 mothership.
2, 1, lift off.
On August 4th, the Crusade Channel will launch Crusade Channel 4.0, the mothership. And you'll see why everyone else is lost in space.
Back in the 90s, there was this thing called the cigar boom, where everyone was buying and smoking handmade cigars. But here's the thing, the popular cigars then were the best made cigars, like Fuente, Joya de Monterrey, and Avo. Over the next 10 years, craftsmanship was replaced by gimmick and slick packaging, and that's when I decided to get in the business and launched El Rey Dude Corona cigars. 20 years later, I launched Mancipio Maria cigars, with that same principle in mind. Make a great handmade cigar, and that's exactly what we do in 4 sizes. I invite you to try a 4-pack sampler of my Mancipia Maria cigars and taste them for yourself in smooth, natural, or bold Maduro wrappers. And to sweeten the deal, I've discounted them 25% for a limited time. And as always, we include a personal humidifier with every order. To order, go to shop.mikechurch.com. Order $50 or more, and shipping is on me. Try my Mancipia Maria cigars today at shop.mikechurch.com.
It's the WWE and the UFC for live talk radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio the way it should be.
Coming aboard! The freight train of truth is leaving MAGA Station. You hear it coming? Mike Churchill is on here on the Crusade channel. Look at the statistic at the bottom of the chat room bubble there. See, $2,128.80. Hath been raised. This is for the week of October the 6th crowdfunding. So that leaves $320 left to raise to get to the next fundraising venture. CrusadeChannel.com/donate for that one. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. And thank you very much in advance. Portion of the program brought to you by our friends at mypillow.com/KingDude. For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com/KingDude. You know the drill. I'm certainly glad, whenever I have a little bit of acid reflux that I deal with from time to time, I'm always bailed out and comforted by the fact that I can stack another MyPillow. So if I need 3, so that I get my chin above my tummy, that way the acid reflux can't make its way up the old pipe. But you probably only need 1 MyPillow. Get you one today and see what we've been talking about here on this show for 15 years now at mypillow.com/KingDude. Don't forget the My Slippers. Don't forget the My Sheets, the My Towels. They even have My Mats for your buckshot. All at mypillow.com/KingDude. Speaking of my buckshot, where is he? He's not out guard dogging this morning. There have been no assaults on the front door today.
All is quiet.
All is quiet on the buckshot front. Let's do some digital media files. Let's start at the top. LSU baseball coach Brad Neffendorf at the White House yesterday. The LSU Fighting Tigers. Let's see. This is World Series 2 out of the last 3 now that they won. Right? It was 2 years ago when they won with my favorite LSU player of all time. There are so many that you could choose from. But Cade Beloso, the Bayou Bambino. I love Cade. That was a great team. This one this past season, I believe, was even better. Here's Coach Neffendorf at the White House yesterday, receiving with an audience with the president. This was really cool, whether you're a Tigers fan or not.
Mr. President, thank you for having us in your home. I think the main thing I take away from you is work ethic, something we preach, and nobody works harder for America than you. So thank you for setting a good example.
And isn't it great to see young men dressed appropriately in audience with the President of the United States? And by the way, Governor Landry was there. That LSU team is not going anywhere without Jeff Landry in tow, including the College World Series. He is talk about another guy that's working his tail off in government, as much as that is possible. I realize I just opened myself up to all manner of criticism and hatred and opprobrium or misopprobrium. But Governor Landry, he was in the audience yesterday, and he'd already received them at the governor's mansion and thanked them. He went to the College World Series. As a matter of fact, he helped set the record for Jell-O shots. What's the name of that bar? Bolo's. No. There's a bar in Omaha. Rocco's. I knew it ended with an O. Here's another one. Here's another Brad Neffendorf on the LSU Tigers winning the College World Series. And by the way, for all of you in the chat room, no, if Toronto wins the World Series, he does not have to host a Canadian baseball team. Stay the hell in Canada.
First off, I want to speak on behalf of our university administration and our athletic department for such a wonderful day, and our coaching staff and our players for which we are recognizing here today. We're extremely honored to be here, excited, and I know our guys have been jacked up about it. Not only just for the recognition, but you guys are recognizing the way where they get to be together one more time, and that says that for both teams up here, and no better way to do that. I could sit up here and talk to you about our team all day long. What I can't talk to, and it gets tough at times to answer, is how we didn't lose a game. The only thing that I can sit up here and talk to you about is what they did to put themselves in position to at the end of the year have not lost a game and won a national title. There was one word with these guys, and it was investment. They were invested in absolutely everything that not only that we asked them to do, but most importantly, they were invested in each other.
By the way, pause the tape, Maggie. Look at the amount of LSU boys back there that have Trump outfits on. Look at a guy standing right behind Coach Neffendorf, blue blazer, white shirt, red tie. Look at the one over his right shoulder up there in the back row. Blue blazer, white shirt, red tie. I just noticed that they're wearing their Trump apparel.
We always talk every year when we get these guys and we get together in the fall because the roster can turn over and things can reset. About how quick can we become a team? And there's rosters out there that don't become teams. And this group went from a roster to a team so incredibly quick, it made the lives of us coaching staff just that much easier. We just did what we could to get the heck out of the way and let them go. I've never seen a group with the word investment, turn over to a word called impact. With that investment, they impacted so many people from the university to the city, and I can truthfully sit up here and tell you they impacted myself and our coaching staff more than anybody else. Just like Jay, I want to thank our guys for what they did. I can't thank them enough. Just the impact that they had on everybody around them was truly unbelievable, and I can speak to that's why they put themselves in position to play for a national title. The one thing that I'm going to, Jay said it and others have said, this isn't about just one program, though, today. Obviously, LSU, if you think about baseball in the state of Louisiana, and I have for years, you think about LSU.
LSU.
Very historic
LSU.
program, built out a lot of success. And what they've been able to do twice in the last 3 years.
So I was right.
You can take what Jay said and you can add on a lot, I'm sure, what I've said about the word investment and impact and whatnot. To be able to win 2 in the last 3 years in Division I baseball in the landscape that we have right now is incredible to me. But I can also say when you added what LSU Shreveport has now done, my point with this whole thing, and it goes back to what Jay said as well, baseball and college baseball right now is in the state of Louisiana. I don't think there's any better place for what's going on and how it's going on. So that's how I'll end with what I've got today. I want to personally thank President Trump, Speaker Johnson, everybody involved. We can't thank you enough for having us here. It's one of the greatest things that these guys are ever going to be.
And again, I play a soundbite like that, and the video for you that are watching at home. It's just something that's good to see, and I think that this is the way that it should be. There's a lot of hatred out there, and there's so many things. Well, why don't they fix this? Why don't they fix that? Why don't we just talk about sports for just a minute? Why don't we just turn the temperature down on all the other crap and just talk about one of my favorite songs of the last 40 years, that's going back a long way, is, I'll play it for you, is a song that's about nothing other than just having a good Saturday afternoon at a baseball park. Remember this one? What a great, this is just it's a American song, if you will. To like about that song, and I don't. Talks about minor league baseball. Talks about hitting a home run. It's It's a gone and you can tell that one goodbye. You hear the 7th inning stretch organ in there? You catch that part? Just a great American piece of Americana song written about baseball. And, of course, the World Series, I guess it's set now, right? Toronto is playing who? I know the Blue Jays got in because they won Game 7 last night. In any event, and that song is written by John Fogerty. John Fogerty is the dude behind Creedence Clearwater Revival. Oh, it's the Dodgers. Oh, God, I had that. Dodgers. Why did it have to be L.A.? Am I going to be a Canadian fan? Oh, God, golly, what a...
I'm going to have to be, because I hate LA.
I can't do the Dodgers.
They did the nun thing.
Yeah, I know. I can't do it. I'm just not going to play. I'm not going to watch. John Fogerty, you listen to all the Creedence Clearwater Revival songs about Fortunate Son, for example, here. It's a lot of politically charged music, but in that one instance there, and that album's a great album, by the way, maybe one of the top 10 of all time, Center Field, is Fogerty just talking about a great American pastime about baseball. And that's what you got yesterday with the LSU Tigers visiting the White House. Okay, enough about Americana and about baseball. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying, I'm not watching the World Series. I can't do it. You have the communists versus the socialists. You have the trannies versus the commies. What an awful World Series. Why couldn't it be Tampa? Where are the Chitros at when we need them? Or the Red Sox, or the Yankees, or anyone. Dodgers, not the Dodgers. Ugh. And if you're wondering, why can't you do the Dodgers? You hate Los Angeles that much. No, they are the ones that brought the sisters their perpetual indulgence. The pervert tranny blasphemers into their charity night or whatever the hell night it was at Dodger Stadium. And there was so much backlash from him that they ultimately just knocked it down to where there was only 3 of them that actually showed up, and it was before the game started, so that hardly anyone saw it. They still did it, though. The fact that they did, and yet they did it again this year. So no, I can't do the Dodgers. Can't do it. Plus, there's a lot of people going to say, what about the fact that the Dodgers left Brooklyn and moved to L.A.? True story. True story. You know, the guy that moved that owned the Dodgers team at that time was a Catholic, and he was very active in the church. I can't remember his name, but people in Brooklyn, they still hate him. He's still hated for moving the Dodgers. Speaking of great Americana things, I have an announcement to make. This Thursday night throwdown could quite possibly be the greatest Thursday night throwdown in history. That's saying a lot. This Thursday night throwdown is the Great American Hamburger. I already have suggestions for 3 movie clips, including the "This is a tasty burger," including what's that? Oh, Royale with cheese. That's right, including Pulp Fiction. Everyone has their favorite burger spot. Everyone has a favorite burger. There are no exceptions. Everyone has one unless you're a weirdo. And if you don't have one, then you're a weirdo. Please don't come. You're not welcome. So We're going to do Great American Hamburgers. Great American Hamburger. I know Maggie has her spot. We have our spot. I have several spots, actually, including right here at Shea Church. We make a mean burger here. But it's just something that people are very passionate about at some level. And everyone has a favorite spot. Have you ever been to this spot where, some places do like the stuffed cheeseburger, or, you got the one with the fried jalapenos on top, or the special made bun, or whatever the case may be. So bring your, and by the way, none of this not showing up anymore, Joe Beeman. Beeman's been absent the last 2 weeks. He's about to get his number removed from the speed dial. Oh, dude. So this Thursday night, the Great American Hamburger, Thursday night throwdown. Your favorite burger, wherever it is made, thrown down against ours, and we're going to have everyone's going to be starving for burgers at the end. Maybe we'll have we should have a burger throwdown, a one in person one time. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Joy Pullman has this piece out of the Federalist today. Western culture isn't feminized, it's transgender. And now, I talked to you about the Helen Andrews piece last week. We went into it in some detail. By the way, Trader Jill is going to talk on this subject here. We are going to have the... you'll see it when she comes on. She's done a lot of research on this. As a matter of fact, she published a couple of pieces on X back in 2023, the war on masculinity. And I believe that the end result, that the greatest triumph of the war on masculinity was the tranny mammy. The tranny mammy ran the United States for almost 3 full years. I think everyone ought to take that in for a moment and just think about that. The tranny mammy, the deranged psychopath, Munchausen by proxy syndrome mother, and I use mother in air finger quotation marks, that used and abused her child or children, and by claiming that they were born in the wrong gender body, and then made social media empires out of mutilating psychologically, physically, and mentally, and sterilizing many of them of their children. This was the epitome of insane people actually being in control of the wheels and machinations of power. The Biden White House at one point was basically being run by a deranged tranny. The Biden White House at one point, when it wasn't being run by a deranged tranny, was being run by a deranged, crazed lesbian who's now in denial. I never saw President Biden when he wasn't at the top of his game. Karina Jean-Pierre. KJP continues to insist, no, I never saw him like that. He was always sharp. That can't possibly be true. And by the way, there is no one that can back that story up. Pullman, our society isn't feminine at all. It seems obvious that decaying Western societies are in fact not feminized because our societies do not champion female hallmarks. The top exhibit for this is the lack of babies. Do you see how she's making? This is brilliant. This is, seriously, this is really brilliant. Do you see the counterpoint here? No, the women are in charge, but they're not acting like women. They're trying to act like men.
And women do men bad.
And when women do men, what happens?
We do it poorly.
They do it poorly, terribly. Women make horrible men. They make even worse fathers. That's right. Are you talking to me? My husband left me and did it. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the uber power mad feminist psychopath who did it all intentionally. If we lived in a feminine society, we would all be surrounded by babies. There would be no existential crisis, and the birth-death replacement rate, which in the United States right now stands at 1.6 right now. By the way, I saw the most interesting chart. I don't know if Joy Pullman has it in here. It's on my Twitter, Maggie. You can grab the graphic from my Twitter yesterday. I saw the most interesting chart. You know, the people that self-identify as, quote, conservative, close quote, in their politics, we actually are not at a bad place in fertility wide, in the fertility rate speaking. If you self-identify as conservative, your fertility rate is at 2.6, which is above what is needed to continue the population. It has pretty much remained at 2 point. Is it 2.5 or 2.6? Looks like 2.5. 2.5. The leftards are at 1.
Hey, Jim, remember when we used to be like Joe Walsh?
Now we just talk about making hit records. Well, parody versions of hit records.
Join the KingDude and Jim Mosier as they pick apart the greatest parody songs of all time and the hits they were based on. It's Album Autopsy, exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be, and doesn't disappoint your mother.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Mary Joseph with your Saint of the Day. Today is October 21st, the feast of St. Ursula and her companions who died in 383. When the pagan Saxons started to invade England in the 4th century with the intention of destroying the Catholic faith and the purity of all the young English virgins, a great group of English girls, numbering 10 friends of St. Ursula, and each having 1,000 companions, which made their number in all 11,011, fled from England to the continent. In the year 383, St. Ursula and her 11,010 companions were all slaughtered for their purity and their faith. This great martyrdom occurred in Cologne in Germany. A shrine has been erected to them there, containing as many of their bones as could be rescued. A religious order of nuns in the Catholic Church in honor of St. Ursula was established by St. Angela Merici in the year 1535. They are known as the Ursulines. Today is also the feast of St. Hilarion. He was born of infidel parents at Abatha in Palestine and was sent to study at Alexandria, where he became famous for his talents and the purity of his morals. He embraced the Christian religion and made wonderful progress in faith and charity. He was constantly in the church, devoted himself to prayer and fasting, and was full of contempt for the enticements of pleasure and earthly desires. He never changed or washed the sackcloth he wore, saying it was superfluous to look for cleanliness in a hair shirt. He devoted himself to the reading and study of the Holy Scripture. His food consisted of a few figs and the juice of herbs, which he never took before sunset. His mortification and humility were wonderful, and by means of these and other virtues, he overcame many terrible temptations of the evil one, and cast innumerable demons out of the possessed in many parts of the world. Saint Hilarion, Saint Ursula and her companions, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for this brief summary of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow is the feast of Saint Mary Salome. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent by visiting stphilomenaconvent.org. I am Sister Mary Joseph, and until next time, may God bless and Mary keep you.
Do you hear that, Maggie?
Do I hear what?
You don't hear the sound of bees buzzing about?
No, I see the result of that buzzing about and these beautiful new beeswax candles.
We sell candles now?
Not just any candles. These are handmade beeswax candles.
Well, that explains me imagining bees.
And they come in different sizes. There's a votive, a 3-day, and a 7-day size too.
Well, that should start a buzz in the store.
It better, or you'll get the buzz.
Order handmade beeswax candles today while supplies last at shop.mikechurch.com.
It's the I Love Leigh Show, starring Leigh, with special guest Jim.
Come on, dude, pick up.
Jim's Bait Shop.
Very boomer funny of you.
Yeah, I thought so too. What's up?
What was the name of the live talk radio thingy? You know, that show with the holy guy you were telling me about?
Talk radio, holy guy. I'm sure I have no idea.
Yeah, the guy's name rhymed with Lurch. He was talking about being holy or something.
Talking about... Oh, you mean Mike Church. He's not trying to be holy.
Yeah, he's also not trying to fake being holy. Anyway, I just came from the Lila Rose 2-for-1 podcast promotion, and I didn't make a dent in one, much less get two, and I need something cool to listen to on the 6-hour drive I have coming up.
Well, the KingDude's got you covered there.
So, you got the deets?
No, but my dad had shingles.
Oh, you're such a boomer! Deets, as in details, as in where and when do I find this guy?
I'm not a boomer, and his podcast is hiding in plain sight at this thing called a website at crusadechannel.com.
Why can't he just have a QR code?
Yeah. Want me to come over there and type that in for you, Zoomer?
The Crusade Channel 4.0, one of life's simple pleasures.
Yeah, like hearing a tree beginning its journey to the paper mill.
Like paper over plastic, some things like the Crusade Channel.
And good old-fashioned live talk radio.
Never go out of style at crusadechannel.com.
Speaking of out of style, Jim, we need to talk about your hair.
What's the matter with my hair?
The 80s hair metal band's called, and they want their style back.
Hey, it's the KingDude for My Pillow. Mike Lindell sent me my first set of My Pillows 14 years ago. I loved them then, and I still love that same set of original My Pillows today. True story. Now, that's a testament to the craftsmanship and quality of the My Pillow. But don't take my word for it. Go try it for yourself. Use my unique code and get huge discounts and free shipping on all orders by going to mypillow.com/KingDude. That's mypillow.com/KingDude. American Talk Radio made by Americans for American ears, not AI. Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Channel. On a Tuesday, we are live, counting the days down to year number 10 on November the 11th. Help get us to November 11th, though. We're sitting on goose eggs again in the donation in the chat room. Great. Nope.
0.0.
People are so enraptured by the content of the program, they have not had time to break themselves away and go to crusadechannel.com/donate and contribute to the fundraising for this week. Do so. $320 short to knock the last requirement or the last ask so that we can start another one for this week for tomorrow. crusadechannel.com/donate. Your donations are all tax deductible, by the way. We're a 501c3 now. 501c3. Okay. And thank you very much in advance. Did you put that chart in the chat room? I'm not saying you didn't. I wasn't looking. Let's see. Yeah, you did. Okay. Look at the conservative fertility rate. crusadechannel.com/chat. 51 chatters in the 7 a.m. hour. What in the hell? I'm just not. All right, last Tuesday we're doing a live show. Not even. Good grief. Birth rates are okay. The chart says that birth rates are falling more steeply among progressives than conservatives. In 1980, if you had self-identified as conservative, your fertility rate was 2.7. By 1988, the last year of the Reagan administration, it was almost 2.8. It then it fell a little bit during the Clinton years, down to 2.5, went back up again after 9/11 to 2.45, went back up again to 2.5, and is sitting right now as of 2023 at 2.4. Now, the replacement rate in the modern world is 2.1. Okay. So if you self-identify as conservative, you're above the replacement rate. Good, that's good. We can do better. Get that number going back towards 3, but we're not going to die off. Now, the leftards have a major problem. If you self-identify as progressive, your birth rate right now is your fertility rate is 1.7. What does this mean? And it's going down. In 2010, it was 2, and now in 2023, it's 1.7. What does this mean? And it's a steep drop. Well, when you infuse your movement with homosexuality, and then you go for transgender, and you fuse the two, and then you can't even identify what a woman is. You got major sociological and now major physiological problems on your hand. What does this mean? Well, get the conservative fertility rate going back up. We're just going to outbreed them. They're being outbred. Look at that gap. In one generation, they will be powerless. In one generation, they will be powerless because their population is going to decrease. The conservative population is going to increase because it's above the replacement rate. The leftard population is on the way. It's on a death spiral like Japan's. Is this an accident? No, I don't believe it's an accident at all. I think that's just the way that this is shaking out. And they are aborting, contracepting, homosexualizing, and remaining angry, ugly, single cat ladies themselves out of power. It's a beautiful thing. So what does that mean? That means that the chance of another Bernie Sanders coming along, every generation that goes by, decreases dramatically. I wish I was a statistical guy because I'd run that number out. And just look at the decrease from 2010 to 2020. Now, it is true that the conservative number went down, but I bet you that today that number is going to flatten out. Young men are self-identifying now as, you know, as a matter of fact, you have the Sean Duffy clip, don't you? It's on my Twitter again yesterday. I thought you mentioned it. Why I just assumed that it was on there. Secretary of Transportation, who has 9 children, Duffy was in a conversation with someone on Newsmax, and was asked about, well, what's going on with young men and the conservative young men. This is what's going on. And this is pursuant to what we're talking about.
AOC right that the GOP is luring in men by legitimizing their racism and their desire to be kings?
Right, because you have Republicans who say men aren't toxic. Right, we want to celebrate masculinity. And what's happened with young men today is pretty remarkable. They've been told you should be responsible. You should respect women. You should get a job. You should work hard. You should actually go back to church. Be honorable. That's what they're called to do by this new movement within the Republican Party. And they've embraced it, which is wonderful. But I love your opening on the No Kings protest, which is actually a Hate America protest. Donald Trump, king? He won the 7 swing states. He won the popular vote. And then everything he's doing, he actually ran on the campaign trail. He told everybody he was going to do this, and the majority of Americans voted for him. This is just disenfranchised Democrats, but also George Soros is funding it.
All right, to that end,
Socialists of America.
okay, so he got it out that young men are responding to go back to church, become a father, get married, have children. This isn't complicated. This isn't hard to figure out. Play Batya Ungar Sargon, because she pretty much says the same thing. Then we'll go back to the demographic. This is number 13 on your cut sheet. Trump campaigned as a populist, if you will, and said that he was going to rid the United States of every illegal alien criminal trespasser that Biden let in. So why if you're such a fan of our precious democracy, well then don't you want him acting all democratic and stuff? This is the point made by Batya Ungar Sargon.
These protests were overwhelmingly white. They were overwhelmingly elderly people, older people. Now, again, white boomers have the right to
Bougie
have a mass
boomers.
therapy session about the fact that Donald Trump won. But to call it a no kings protest, to act like he is a king is so utterly preposterous. This is a man who won the popular vote. He won every swing state. He is a person who is enacting the exact agenda he promised he was going to enact while he was campaigning. And so what they're actually protesting is the absolute perfection of American democracy, where a person campaigned on an agenda, won the popular vote, and is now enacting that agenda. So it was actually a protest of democracy, all of which is to say the only way to greet such a preposterous proposition, calling this a no kings rally when it's actually an anti-democracy rally, is to crap on it. I'm sorry, is to basically make fun of it. And I think that has been the Trump administration's approach. They didn't try to stop it, God forbid, because he's not a king. They allowed them to have their say. They allowed them to go out there, and then they made fun of them.
So dropping poop on them actually works. You've earned the crap that's on your head, literally, poop head. I love that. We're not having any kings. I'm pretty sure he ran and said that all illegal alien criminal trespassers are going to be sent home. I love it when he goes, "Is this what you voted for?" Yep, sure is. Those children were ripped apart from their parents. Shouldn't have snuck into the United States. Sucks to be you. Too bad. Go home. As I said on yesterday's program, pull up the drawbridge. We don't need any immigrants for 2 generations. Stop it. None. If, and this is a huge if it is determined that somehow we can't raise young men smart enough to figure out how to solve all of our problems, and we have to import them from the Middle East, from India or wherever, that's temporary. The only way you're going to preserve whatever remains of Mayberry RFD is to stop dissipating it. Stop saying that we have to have a melting. There's no rule that says you have to be a melting pot. No rule. So it would make us racist. Well, great. We'll be great racists then. Fantastic. I can't wait to wear my xenophobe in charge t-shirt. Enough of this guilt tripping. We have to be the shining beacon of all to the world. No, we don't. And by the way, we don't have to fix Argentina's problems either. I'm more concerned with ranchers in Texas and Oklahoma's problems than I are with ranchers in Argentina. By the way, South Americans are en masse immigrating to the United States as cowboys. And they're winning rodeo championships. You should win them on behalf of Argentina. You want to make Argentina great again? Stop riding as a Texan then in the PBR and ride as an Argentina. Back to Joy Pullman, Mike Churchill here on the Crusade channel. Live talk radio the way it should be. A crusade for the truth. Literally the last live talk radio station standing. 64% of American women younger than 50 say they don't want kids, according to Pew Research Center last year. Joy Pullman says that's not feminine. Our culture has also become incredibly immodest, another rejection of a primordial feminine trait, as Wendy Shallett memorably explained in the late 1990s. Some of the most conservative families I know who homeschool and strongly affirm defined sex roles and make leadership of homes and churches allow their beautiful daughters to wear workout shorts, cut like boxer briefs and crop tops. And this has been true since I was a child. Again, not feminine. Trump-supporting female celebrities celebrate each other wearing skin-tight, button breast-bearing bodysuits that get the notice of New York Magazine and the New York Times. This is not feminine either. An essay comprehensively chronicling our culture's rejection of femininity could get very long. So let's conclude the observation for now with just one more hallmark example. Our culture's cold indifference to children. The worst form of hatred is also the opposite of feminine. Women naturally put children first. This is why women prioritize empathy, cohesion, and safety, because children are irrational, risky, and an obstacle to competition. Yet we innately understand their value transcends these male criteria. Despite rhetoric claiming the opposite, our culture systematically puts children last. The COVID lockdowns sacrificed children's futures for largely female adult psychosis. Abortion, in vitro fertilization, and contraception mass murder children for adult pleasure. Democrats will shut down the government to feed the welfare state that cannibalizes the young's economic stability, and Republicans help them. It's not feminine to put the children last. As I wrote in a speech delivered a year ago to Phyllis Schlafly's Eagle Forum, are we really experiencing a cultural over-feminization? It looks to me like, instead, we have a swap. We have feminization where there should be masculinity, and masculinization where there should be femininity. Our women are pushed to act like men, and our men to act like women. And the resulting social transgenderism makes everybody extremely unhappy, not to mention dysfunctional. Do we have too many weak men and unhinged women? Absolutely. I'd argue, however, that because our society has reversed men and women's roles, and in doing so, abandoned both masculinity and femininity at the same time. It's hard to do. We are not too feminine. Our women are not feminine enough, and our men are not masculine enough. You know, I wrote a bit about this way back in 1993, I want to say. Some of you might remember this.
Honey, is dinner almost ready? I've got to get to the bowling alley. Oh, and did you iron my bowling shirt today?
What would you do when faced with this terrifying situation? How about using the Butch Club? Hi, I'm Staffless Sergeant Butch Splitter. Many women today are unaware of these horrifying and unverified statistics. Every 3.8 milliseconds, an American woman is scolded, forced to do ironing, cooking, cleaning, and consents to having sex with men. Many of these atrocities against womandom could have been prevented simply by using the Butch Club. Endorsed by the National Fraternal Order of Feminists and the Association of Closet Lesbian Police Chiefs, the Butch Club is a woman's first line of offense. The Butch Club mounts easily anywhere men are and comes complete with a retractable stainless steel kitchen knife. Costing only pennies of your alimony payment per day, the Butch Club makes a great Molly Yard birthday gift. Order your own Butch Club by calling 1-800-CLUB-MEN. NARAL, NAMBLA, and NOW cards accepted. So next time you hear,
Honey, is dinner almost ready? I've got to get to the bowling alley. Oh, and did you iron my bowling shirt today?
reach for the Butch Club.
Staffless Sergeant Butch Splitter to the rescue again. I wonder what happened to Aaron. It was my intern back in 1993. Joy Pullman also has a subtitle, Wokeness is Definitely Applied Marxism. We'll talk more about that. I want to do some more digital media files. I know you don't want to hear from the usual suspects. Play number 7. We haven't heard from Chip Roy in a while. Trump also said yesterday, look, it was one thing I know is that the Democrats will cave. They will cave. Okay? I think that he's right. And I also think, let's go back to what I said earlier about the shutdown and about the SNAP payments. What SNAP stands for? Supplemental Nutrition and Aid, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This is a marvelous opportunity for Christians across the United States to put your money where your small government mouths are. Tell the president and tell the Congress and tell your governor, stop panicking over SNAP not being funded. We got this. We will open all of, we'll quadruple time our food banks and soup kitchens and what have you. We will get the word out to all local media if they'll just listen to us. If you're on SNAP and you need food or you need assistance, all you have to do is come to the church. Or if you can't make it to the church, call the hotline and we'll come to you. Again, why do we need a government assistance program when Christ told us to be the assistance program and we used to be? Does everyone understand the opportunity that's here? That's not being that apparently no one is willing to take advantage of. Well, that's hard work. Well, so what? Play Chip Roy. Here is number 7.
They weaponized the government against the American people. And now they want to turn around and say they're going to have a No Kings rally? This is the dying breath of a bankrupt party, in my humble opinion. All too happy to shut down the government and then have a Chicago teacher walk around with this symbol against her neck. Somebody tell me how that's appropriate. Where are the Democrats that are crying out about how horrific that was? And by the way, where are the Democrats who are calling out the Attorney General in Virginia for calling on the death of children of a political opponent? Where is Abigail Spanberger, one of our former colleagues running for governor of Virginia? Do they not have the courage to call out fellow Democrats for that absurdity? The truth is, we have a president. We don't have a king. We have a president who loves our country, who rightly said yesterday that he's working his ass off to make this country great. He is correct. Brokering peace deals in the Middle East, rebuilding our military, rooting out DEI and critical race theory, declaring cartels as terrorist organizations, focusing on Antifa, defunding the World Health Organization, getting us out of UNRWA, making sure that we target the Southern Poverty Law Center, who are, going after people like our friends at the Family Research Council or ultimately Charlie Kirk, securing the border, passing the Lake and Riley Act. These are the things the American people want us to do, not shutting down the government for political rallies. And the truth is, the Marxists, the radicals, and the Islamists, the Democratic Party promoted this weekend. They cannot handle the truth. The truth is that there is a king, and that king is Jesus. And the president has been willing to say it. His administration has been willing to say it. And Charlie Kirk was willing to say it, and he got killed for it. We'll be right back with Trader Jill.
I need something to listen to challenge my faith and tickle my not-so-nice funny bone.
Well, you won't hear anything about Mondays coming or cheeseburgers in paradise, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays.
Oh, this Boats, Beaches, Bars, and Ballads fan sees what you did there.
Weekdays at 2 Central on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Everybody loves a good trilogy. The Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and now the KingDude Seasoning Trilogy. There's Beast and Butt Rub, Acadiana Steak, and the brand new Chicken Mamu Seasoning, a lemon herb-based rub that's won trophies in barbecue chicken cook-offs. Now, we've bundled all 3 spices together, and you can get them for one low price for less than it costs to rent a movie trilogy. And the KingDude offers you his personal money-back guaranteed of your taste buds' complete satisfaction. Order a KingDude Seasoning Trilogy today at shop.mikechurch.com.
Have you ever dreamed of being like Brian Kay or Mitter Monday and being a free Farm Friday star? But you know you have no shot at it because you can't tell the difference between a U and a Y-O-U. Well, lucky for you, we have an entire bookstore filled with the books you need to become so passionate for farming, you'll soon be wearing a Brian Kay Calls Me for Advice t-shirt. So learn to grow by growing your library with books by shopping at shop.mikechurch.com.
You're listening to the Crusade Channel, a Black Hat Studios media property, broadcasting live 24/7 from Madisonville, Louisiana, and to the world via CrusadeChannel.com.
Crusade Channel News. News you can trust, because the truth can be trusted. From the Crusade Channel News Desk, here's Janet Huxley.
Hello, Crusaders. Welcome to Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. I'm Janet Huxley, reporting for the Crusade Channel News Desk, live from the Dothan Farm and Ranch, south of Kansas City, Missouri. Today's newscast brought to you by Mike Church's Beast and Butt Rub, a rub that's won championships and will help make you a champ in your kitchen or backyard. Check out Mike's recipes and pick up a bottle or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. Here's what to listen for this hour. Trump and Australian Prime Minister sign $8.5 billion critical minerals deal to counter China dominance in rare earths. Chip Roy says the Democratic Party is taking its dying breaths. The world's most visited museum shuts down after a jewel heist in broad daylight. And Virginia Giuffre speaks posthumously in her memoir. President Donald Trump and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Monday signed an agreement on rare earths and critical minerals as the two allies look to stabilize global supplies. Trump and Albanese met at the White House for their first summit, and the deal was negotiated over the past 4 or 5 months, according to Trump. Reuters said the two countries agreed to each invest $1 billion over the next 6 months into mining and processing projects. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them, Trump told reporters at the event. Texas Republican Representative Chip Roy tore into the Democratic Party during House GOP leaders' press conference on day 20 of the government shutdown after anti-Trump protests swept the country over the weekend. He blasted the left's embrace of the No Kings rallies where millions of people across the U.S. took to the streets to protest the president. This is the dying breaths of a bankrupt party, in my humble opinion, all too happy to shut down the government, Roy said during a press conference yesterday. In a minutes-long strike on Sunday, inside the world's most visited museum, thieves rode a basket lift up the Louvre's facade, forced a window, and smashed display cases, fleeing with priceless Napoleonic jewels. The daylight heist, about 30 minutes after opening, with visitors already inside, was among the highest-profile museum thefts in living memory, and comes as staff complained that crowding and thin staffing are straining security. The theft unfolded just 250 meters from the Mona Lisa. One object was later found outside the museum. French media identified it as the emerald-set imperial crown of Napoleon III's wife, Empress Eugenie, containing more than 1,300 diamonds. Our quote of the day: "Oh, my Lord, inflame my heart with love for you, that my spirit may not grow weary amidst the storms, the sufferings, and the trials." St. Faustina Kowalska. And our saint of the day coming up. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Capuchin Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com. It's the I Love Leigh Show, starring Leigh, with special guest Jim.
Come on, dude, pick up.
Jim's Bait Shop.
Very boomer funny of you.
Yeah, I thought so too. What's up?
What was the name of the live talk radio thingy? You know, that show with the holy guy you were telling me about?
Talk radio, holy guy. I'm sure I have no idea.
Yeah, the guy's name rhymed with Lurch. He was talking about being holy or something.
Talking about... Oh, you mean Mike Church. He's not trying to be holy.
Yeah, he's also not trying to fake being holy. Anyway, I just came from the Leigh Rose 2-for-1 podcast promotion, and I didn't make a dent in one, much less get two, and I need something cool to listen to on the 6-hour drive I have coming up.
Well, the KingDude's got you covered there.
So, you got the deets?
No, but my dad had shingles.
Oh, you're such a boomer! Deets, as in details, as in where and when do I find this guy?
I'm not a boomer, and his podcast is hiding in plain sight at this thing called a website at crusadechannel.com.
Why can't he just have a QR code?
Yeah. Want me to come over there and type that in for you, Zoomer?
The Crusade Channel 4.0, one of life's simple pleasures.
Yeah, like hearing a tree beginning its journey to the paper mill.
Like paper over plastic, some things like the Crusade Channel.
And good old-fashioned live talk radio.
Never go out of style at crusadechannel.com.
Speaking of out of style, Jim, we need to talk about your hair.
What's the matter with my hair?
The 80s hair metal band's called, and they want their style back.
Our saint of the day is Saint Hilarion. People were naturally drawn to Hilarion as a source of spiritual wisdom and peace. He had reached such fame by the time of his death that his body had to be secretly removed so a shrine would not be built in his honor. Instead, he was buried in his home village. Saint Hilarion the Great, as he is sometimes called, was born in Palestine. After his conversion to Christianity, he spent some time with Saint Anthony of Egypt, another holy man drawn to solitude. Hilarion lived a life of hardship and simplicity in the desert, where he also experienced spiritual dryness that included temptations to despair. At the same time, miracles were attributed to him, and as his fame grew, a small group of disciples wanted to follow him. He began a series of journeys to find a place where he could live away from the world, and he finally settled on Cyprus, where he died in 371 at about age 80. Hilarion is celebrated as the founder of monasticism in Palestine. Much of his fame flows from the biography of him written by Saint Jerome. Prominent Jeffrey Epstein victim Virginia Roberts Giuffre was brutally bloodied, beaten, and raped by a well-known prime minister in a series of savage encounters that finally helped the teenager break free from Epstein's spell, according to her posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. In it, Giuffre recalled begging Epstein to step in after the unnamed politician forced her to beg for her life, but the pedophile coldly told her it was simply part of her job. Giuffre simply referred to the deranged man as the prime minister, saying she was afraid he would seek to hurt her if she printed his name. In the past, however, she pointed to Israel's prime minister Ehud Barak in court filings as one of the many elites, a claim he has repeatedly denied. She said she couldn't stay a fool after that attack. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
It's the WWE and the UFC for live talk radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio the way it should be.
message get to you?
And welcome back. We're not going to have our interview with Trader Jill because the phone has decided that it needs a reboot. And she only has the ability to do telephone. So unless we can figure out a way to do StreamYard. So I apologize for the inconvenience. This has only happened once before. This Hades-forsaken, antiquated analog phone system. And the receiver got knocked off the podium yesterday. Apparently, that sent a message to the Central Command Unit, which then sent a message with a ruh-roh, Raggy. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to function because you idiots dropped the box, and it requires now a complete and total reboot. And the only way to do that, if I told you, no one would believe this. No one would believe. What? No, it's not going to work. No one would believe the modem that comes with the cable modem, that the Spectrum cable modem that runs the telephones. You would never believe this in 1.5 billion years. Has its own battery backup in it. You can't reset it. The only way to reset it is you have to physically take the damn thing apart, pull the battery out to reset it. I know because I had to do it a couple of months ago because we had the same problem for another reason. And that's the only way to get it back. We are both so sick and tired of tech and this crap.
I want to be a hermit, live in a cave.
You can't just, and look, you can't even buy, you know what, I don't even think that AT&T even sells POTS lines anymore. Plain old telephone service. You can't even just go up to or call your, used to be Bell South or whoever, and call Bell South and say, well, you know, I want a telephone line installed. Because they will look at you like your head is square. You have 3 heads, and the one in the center is square. And there's nothing that can be done about it. You just can't. Which is why we have the Spectrum service, because they will sell you a POTS line, plain old telephone service. And we have 4 of them. As I said, once it gets reset, the only way to reset it is for me, the engineer on duty here, to take a half an hour and go take that thing apart and pull that battery out and reset it, and then it'll come right back to life. So we'll just have to do it on another day. So that's where we stand. I give the phone number out, but it wouldn't do any good because it doesn't work. Yeah, and I get notices 2-3 times a week. We are aware of an outage in your area with the Spectrum service. It happens all the time. So again, we'll get the Trader Jill interview on. We'll just have to do it on another day, or later, or maybe later on today when I can get the telephone restored. You know, and I knew it yesterday. Something in the back, but I had 30 other fires to put out. Something in the back of my mind. So they dropped that phone. I should check it. I should check it, but I didn't. All right, let's do some more digital media files. This portion of the program. Okay, now do you believe us? Now do you believe us when we say that every single day it is existential that we raise the funds to try and fix these various and sundry problems. So when I say that we can't even, that we're trying to raise $10 today, and by the way, still sitting on goose eggs. Nothing. Not a solitary nickel today. I don't blame you. I'd turn the whole damn thing off and I'd walk away too. If I were you, I'd quit. There are so many people out there that can deliver you the same news in 15-second sound bites. You don't need us anymore. Especially after today. We still do have the rest of the internet, though, so we can pick up where we left off. Let's play Judge Jeanine Pirro from yesterday. It's number 9. This is where she announces that the people that beat up big balls are ultimately going to pay.
Today, we are announcing that Lawrence Cotton Powell, who is 19 years of age, along with Anthony Taylor, who is 18 years of age, are now charged with assaulting Levine. Cotton Powell was stomping on Levine's head, as you can see in this poster to my left. Levine was able to get up momentarily, but the crowd chased him and got him down again. They continued to attack Levine while he was on the ground, and then proceeded to rob him of his sneakers and his watch. The group then, after the robbery and assault of Ethan Levine, they walked in the direction of where another crime occurred within minutes. You have heard of this crime. Edward Korestein, a 19-year-old Doge person who was working in the administration, was walking a young woman to her car when he was approached in the 1400 block of Swan Street Northwest. Approximately 10 suspects approached him, and as they did, he pushed the young woman into the car. And he was protecting her from the group before he was then attacked by multiple suspects, who then punched him repeatedly, causing significant injuries to him. They got him on the ground, and as they were doing so, they demanded the car from the woman who was inside the car and had already locked the car. They were banging on the car. They were pulling the car door, trying to get the car open, and were telling the
just
woman
average
in the
teenage
car
behavior,
to
nothing
hand
to
over
see
the
here.
keys. And the woman was, as I said, able to lock the car door, so they were unable to gain entry. And it was fortuitous that someone from the Metropolitan Police Department was on patrol. He happened to pull onto the block, and he witnessed the suspects actually assaulting Korestein, who was on the ground lying next to the car. The juveniles fled, but within a short period of time, 2 15-year-olds were arrested, and they were taken into the family court by the Attorney General's office. That is the local Attorney General's office. Now, I think what's significant about this case is the history of Lawrence Cotton Powell. I want you to follow me on this. Lawrence Cotton Powell is 19 years of age. He's now charged with robbery, first-degree robbery, for which he faces 15 years in prison. He also faces a charge of assault with intent to commit robbery and another 15 years. And robbery for Edward Korestein, 15 years. Assault with intent to commit robbery, another 15 years. And attempted carjacking, 5 years. Now, let me tell you his background. On April 3rd of this year, Lawrence Cotton Powell was sentenced for a felony attempted robbery. My office asked for jail time. Judge McLean, a judge sitting in the criminal part in Superior Court with no criminal background, made a decision to give Cotton Powell probation in spite of his conviction on a felony attempted robbery. Within 31 days, by May 4th, Powell reoffends. He's rearrested while he's on probation from the felony, and he's charged with simple assault and possession of a prohibited weapon B. On May 4th, My office asked that probation be revoked. But on May 16th, that same Judge McClain comes back and releases Cotton Powell and tells him basically, be a good boy. On July 24th,
do no
he
harm.
is sentenced to one of the 2 misdemeanors that he's charged with. Again, my office asked for jail time after he victimized yet another person. And on July 25th, another judge suspends his sentence and decides that he should be on probation. So after a felony of attempted robbery conviction, after a violation of probation, after a second crime, after a second conviction, after no compliance,
Can you
with
believe
CSOSA, the judges say do better and they let him go. And guess what? Within 10 days, he's at it again with Ethan Levine and Edward Korstein. Now, the co-defendant in this case is an individual by the name of Anthony Taylor. He charged also with the same arrest. He is with the same crimes. He is from Maryland. He is 18 years old. We are unaware of any history as it relates to him. I want to thank the Metropolitan.
All right. You get the idea. Judges.
It's the judges.
Just saying, kids are going to be kids. Kids are going to be kids, and they're going to rob people. Kids are going to be, give them another chance. Son, you're not going to do that ever again if I let you out now, are you? This is the Spider-Man paradigm here. This is, with great power comes great responsibility. Remember when Spider-Man, he goes to his first public appearance, he goes into the ring and he fights the dude, right? And the dude, he beats the guy, and there's some exchange of words, and Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, lets the guy go, right? Lets the guy go, well, be a good robber and don't do anything wrong. And, of course, this is the guy that runs into Uncle Ben and shoots and kills him. So what are we to do? Well, we don't have enough jail. I think you're looking at it from the supply end of the problem. The supply, or from the demand end of the problem. The demand right now is for jail cells. The supply is the creation of the criminal element.
Just going to say, because we do all these crime stories and stuff, I understand a judge, if you're a first-time offender, you come in front of the judge, and maybe the judge says, maybe you were running with the wrong crowd, right? So we're going to put you on probation.
Never.
I get the hall pass for the first offense. But if that person commits another crime while on probation, that should be automatic across the board jail time. Because you didn't learn your lesson.
Well, there used to be this thing, this 3 strikes and you're out rule. This Cotton Powell character is 2 strikes in 1 week. And add to that the prior. Maybe we're looking at this the wrong way.
I'm fixing to commensurate this trial here. We gonna see if we can come up with a verdict up in here. Prosecutor, why you think you done it?
Okay, number 1, Your Honor. Just look at him.
He talks like a fag, too.
And B, we've got all this, evidence. But check this out, man. Judge should be like, guilty.
I object that he interrupted me while I was watching Oh My Ball! That is not okay! I rest my case!
I think we could use Judge, what's his name, Stephen Root. I think we could use Judge Stephen Root here. But this is literally, physically, idiocracy. What is the point of having a judicial system when you constantly hear that the good people that are charged with things that they didn't do are convicted, and the bad people who admit that they do things are told that they did nothing wrong and can go back out and prey on the civilian population? You know, anyone that watches any amount, I talk about this all the time, any amount of an investigation, discovery, or true crime shows will figure out pretty quickly that we have a conviction system, not a justice system. Well, how come the conviction system doesn't work for the bad guys? The conviction system, it seems, only works for the person who got their first offense, and it was 0.1% over on the legal alcohol BAC limit, and they can't defend themselves in court. They're probably going to lose anyway, and so they have to plea out. What about the people that are accused of various and sundry crimes, and they go like, well, I didn't do that. Yeah, but we have this, we have you here. Well, that's all circumstantial. Doesn't matter. We're going to prosecute you, and the state's going to come after you, and we could spend $250,000 to prosecute you, so why don't you just take the plea deal? Just plea out to the lesser offense. You know, we've become drunk on this idea here that cops and courts keep us safe. Police officers, by and large, respond after the crime has been committed. They're not there. You call 911 because the house has already been broken into. You call 911 because your husband's already been shot. You call 911 because your son's already been stabbed. But, you know, we're sold this, we have to have this tax millage, you have to have this property tax millage. We're sold all these public services, and this isn't a knock on you cops. This isn't a knock on law enforcement. Again, you guys enforce laws. What this is, though, this is a complete and catastrophic failure of obedience to the unenforceable, which is, okay, a civil society that's going to survive and be successful can only do so when the citizenry takes seriously the laws, traditions, and customs that have kept or have made it possible for that society to flourish. And you have to respect that. And if you don't, and you have no respect for it or no need for it, and you refuse to abide, well, this is where the problem comes in. You know, I was reading, ties right in. How many of you are familiar with Alasdair MacIntyre's book, After Virtue? Because what this is a lack of civic virtue. What's a virtue? A good habit. What's a good habit? Don't rob the little old lady or try and steal her car. Help her out of the car and walk her into the grocery store. Don't steal the groceries and then try and take the car. That's a virtue. Remember the Boy Scout helping a little old lady cross the street. You get the picture. This guy wrote this piece. It's at compactmag.com. Nathan Penkoski, post-liberalism's reluctant godfather. He's writing about Alasdair MacIntyre. And I think that this just dovetails right into it. It fits perfectly. In After Virtue, MacIntyre distinguished practices from institutions. Practices are, again, after virtue, after flourishing, after a good civil society. Practices are the sites where human beings discover the good internal to a practice that helps achieve the human good. What I just told you. I learned to play chess well by mastering the strategies required to win the game. These are goods internal to the practice. Institutions are the sites where goods external to the practice, such as money, prestige, and power, are used and achieved. These external goods and the institutions arranged around them are certainly useful. Someone might incentivize me to play chess well by offering me prizes. Institutions are needed to sustain practices across time. But MacIntyre stresses that though institutions can be confused with the human good, they are not the human good. It is difficult, if not often impossible, to have such practice-based communities and institutions today, MacIntyre argues. We don't know how to achieve the human good anymore. To keep the chess analogy, we now live in a world where we lack agreement on what the rules of the game are. Worse, those of us who think that we know what the rules of chess are and the strategies required to win it really have no idea. Imagine that half a generation is convinced that all the pieces move the same way, and the other half think that the only opening move permitted in chess is 1, e4, e5. This only begins to convey the catastrophic scale of what has been lost in our moral discourse and the intractable character of our moral disagreements. We ended up in this position, McIntyre argues, because of modern liberal individualism, which defines the human being as essentially constituted by his autonomy. It assumes an individualist society of autonomous agents. And the moral theory it tries to build upon, that assumption, is one whereby a human being legislates moral rules for himself as the moral law. This idea, a Kantian one, stems from the Enlightenment Project. And there's more on this. We'll pick it up on the other side of the timeout, and I will try and reset the telephone in the meanwhile as well. CrusadeChannel.com/donate to help us out.
In a world more and more infiltrated with fake news, AI-generated slop-ola, isn't it great knowing that Crusade Channel News is still researched, written, and performed by actual humans? Hey, what are you doing in here? Oh no. Get your hands off of me. You chipped my chip.
Boys, break it up! Jeez. Catch Crusade Channel News, weekday mornings on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio, the way it should be.
No AI was harmed in the making of this radio content. We hope to next time.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. Today's report brought to you by Mike Church's Beast and Butt Rub, a rub that's won championships and will help make you a champ in your kitchen or backyard. Check out Mike's recipes and pick up a bottle or 6 today at shop.mikechurch.com. In the market report, the Dow was up 1.12% at close, the S&P 1.07%, NASDAQ 1.37%. In National Day calendar news, today is National Apple Day. There are 7,000 recognized apple varieties. Bet you didn't know that. It's Back to the Future Day. In 1989, millions of fans of the movie trilogy Back to the Future watched the first signs of time travel through the windshield of that infamous DeLorean. It's National Pharmacy Technician Day, Witch Hazel Day, Reptile Awareness Day, Pumpkin Cheesecake Day, and Pro-Life Day of Silent Solidarity. On this day, participants, primarily students, voluntarily take a vow of silence to bring attention to the pro-life perspective. Our quote of the day, "O my Lord, inflame my heart with love for you, that my spirit may not grow weary amidst the storms, the sufferings, and the trials." Saint Faustina Kowalska. And our saint of the day had reached so much fame by the time of his death, his body had to be secretly removed. Saint Hilarion. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
This is a pixel. I'm Groot. If you put a couple of million of these guys together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple of billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 360 billion, and you've got Joseph Pierce's A History of True England. But it doesn't smell like a history of true England, and it burns teeny little holes in your cornea. So, is the pixel really your friend? I'm Groot. No, Groot, but the Founders Trading Post is your friend, and we have actual books with actual smelly pages. Plus, our little bookstore has everything you'd expect. I'm Groot. Yep, we got Sacred Heart flags, Groot, but no to the One Tree Hill sappy guitar music.
Pick up a copy of Joseph Pierce's True History of England, plus a dozen other Joseph Pierce titles at shop.mychurch.com.
Hey, Leigh. You know, we've known each other for a bit now. I just wonder, what do you really love to do?
I love posting civilization-saving threads on X.com, but I get so tired of outrage porn scrolling my medulla has gone oblong blanca.
Well, I know just the thing. Pour an iced cappuccino Holy Roast coffee. Put your earbuds in and catch 2 hours of suspense. The greatest of all mystery, horror, and whodunit classic radio serials.
Perfect. While you were talking, I completely forgot who Jack Posobiec was.
Catch all 900 plus episodes of Suspense every weekday from noon to 2 p.m. East on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and classic radio.
The way it should be.
Hey, Mrs. McGillicuddy, don't be a satellite radio snob and pass by the Mike Church Show. Come on in and browse.
May I help you?
Oh, no thanks, sir. Just browsing.
How long do you intend to browse?
Well, that lady there. You didn't ask her how long she intends to browse. How come you're asking us how long we intend to browse?
You don't look like browsers.
Now that that's over,
How about a Fresca?
the Mike Church Show, entertaining browsers and fans since 1992 on the Veritas Radio Networks. Crusade.
Return the border. Return the border.
He gave the zaddy to the boss man. They gave to him a sack. But right and early next morning, we found out that he was a wet,
undocumented worker.
They rolled upon him. Return the border. Green card unknown. No such number. Please go home. He worked for quarters, not for greenbacks.
he does the jobs that we won't do because it hurts our backs. On the form, he checked the wrong box, gave us a fake ID. So bright and early next morning, he's running from the IC.
They rolled upon him. Return the border. Green card unknown. No such number. Please go home.
Oh, there's a time I'm gonna take him myself and bring him back to his land. And if he comes back the very next day, I'll make him understand.
This is a border. Return the border. Green card unknown. No such number. Please go home. Return the border. We've had some fun. Yes, we've had our ups and downs. Been down that rocky road. But here we are still around. We thought about someone else. But neither one took the bait. We thought about breaking up. Now we know it's much too late. We are bound by all the rest.
Performing his show with 91.2% of my testosterone and intellect tied behind my back just to make it fair. An oasis of toxic masculinity awash in a sea of angry, despondent, single, angry, ugly cat ladies. Did you see the single, angry, ugly cat lady? They doxed her. She was a teacher from a Chicago school district that makes $106,000 a year brainwashing the Windy City's little childrens. And she was a guy, there were some young people driving by with a Charlie Kirk Trump flag hanging outside their pickup truck. They were flying it out through the windows. And she got in between the rest of the crowd and them, made their way to the truck, and then took her fingers, pressed them to her neck, and kept pulling the trigger on her jugular, and then feigning like she had been shot in the neck. This is the state of femininity today. Well, they doxed her. To realize that's her right there, and you can see it right there on your screen. And people, this is the internet age. You can't get away with this anymore. And figured out what school district she was in. This is interesting, though. We don't know what happened to her. We know that the school took the website down. They took the website down and took everything. Closed their X account down, and just basically.
The school is Nathan Hale Elementary.
Imagine this. This is a school that is named. This is a school that is named for the great Nathan Hale. Now, if you don't know who Nathan Hale was. Nathan Hale was a officer, a very young one, in George Washington's Continental Army, and was captured. Was captured by the British and was tried as a spy, because that's what happened back then. They convicted him as a spy, and then they sentenced him to die. And his last words were supposedly, although there's no eyewitness to this, I regret that my only regret is that I only have but one life to give for my country. There's a ship named the USS Nathan Hale. And so I imagine that that's not the only Nathan Hale Elementary School out there, but it's the one where this Martinez woman, I believe was her name, is holding court and teaching youths the finer points of desiring for your political enemies to be killed. This is how you win a victory. You kill the opposition. You know, we were talking about this earlier, and what we were talking about earlier was with the fertility rates and how the progressive fertility rate is now 1.8. So where the conservative rate stands at 2.5. 2.5 is more than enough to you can maintain your population. You might even grow it a little bit. 1.8 is below the 2.1. You're not going to be able to maintain your population. It's going to decrease. This is the position that Japan finds itself in today, with a fertility rate of 1.1. What's going to happen to Japan is that in 2 more generations, there won't be a Japan. You basically are at a rate right now. You may have certain cities that have higher population rates. Maybe the people that want to survive and flourish gather together, but as a country, your population is going to start to go down. The only way that you can offset this is through massive immigration. You import people to the once great island nation of Japan. Imagine this. The once great island nation that thought that it could actually fight a world war against the United States of America back in the 1940s has now been reduced to groveling for South Koreans to move there. And I believe that is their preferred. But South Korea has a problem. South Korea is also not going to survive its fertility rate. How is all of this happening in all the civilized world all at the same time? Well, I think this goes back to McIntyre. And again, the Enlightenment Project is a demonstrable, total, and complete failure. The thing about self-governing Republican societies that came out of Enlightenment thought also someday is going to be revealed primarily or firstly, as a complete and total catastrophic failure. Now, you can only have, Jefferson was right, you can only have little r republicanism and something limited to the size of a New England township. Anywhere outside of that, once it gets out of scale, well, there's nothing you can do other than watch the scale and the out of scale slowly destroy by attrition, basically. The good that was built. This is what McIntyre was talking about in that essay I was reading last segment. McIntyre was not the first to attack neo-Kantianism, but it might help if you know who Kant was. Immanuel Kant was a French philosopher who basically came up with the idea that you don't have to deal with reality, that there is no such thing as reality. Kant would argue with you that it's raining outside. No, it's not raining. That's just your mind. Your mind has created the raindrops. You think that it's raining. No, it's actually raining. There's a very funny story of Kant having gone to a meeting, and when he arrived, it was bright sunshiny day, and when he was ready to leave, it was pouring down rain, and so he's stuck inside. So he goes to his valet, please go to the carriage or whatever and get my umbrella and my galoshes or whatever. And the joke is that the valet was not a Kantian and said, well, sir, can't you just pretend that it's not raining and it's not wet outside? You just walk through it. So Kant had a problem with reality. He thought that reality was only what you experience in your mind, and that you were free, basically. I'm not doing a lot of justice to Kant. There's an entire lecture about Kant in the Philosophia Perennis series from Catholicism.org, from the Brother Andre Store, and from the 8 lecture series that Brother Francis Malouf gave. But Kant was one of the real serious wackos that people took seriously and began applying Kantian thought to things to basically say, well, no, we don't have to deal with that kind of reality anymore. We can make it up as we go along. I think that McIntyre, Penkoski taps into this when he says, McIntyre grasped the irresolvable character of our social conflict, while most Westerners were still convinced that we could rediscover some elusive political or economic consensus. I think this is where most of you secede people are. McIntyre explained why that aspiration, so dear to the post-war world, was now impossible. Our position was not the result of a few contingencies, whether a few elections or some other factor. It lay in the way we had organized our whole civilization. And so arguing, McIntyre made a rather non-Marxist argument. I imagine this. John Sharp and I talked about this. He gave his talk at the St. Benedict Center this past 2 weeks ago that almost all of you missed. That ideas have consequences. This is a book that's written by Richard Weaver, and ideas do have consequences. In so arguing, McIntyre made a rather non-Marxist argument. Ideas had consequences. The history of philosophy explains where we are now. We are not, to borrow a phrase, unburdened by what has been. We are not free to pick and choose from the ideas of the past to suit our desires. Intellectually and practically, we are formed and guided by the past. We are forever indebted to it, beholden to the democracy of the dead. That's a line from Chesterton. McIntyre's repudiation of autonomy was not just a theoretical argument against it or a demonstration of the pernicious social culture it produced. In Whose Justice? Which Reality? That's from 1988. And 3 rival versions of Moral Inquiry, he completed the trilogy begun with After Virtue. These 2 works demonstrated that the way we think and act is constituted by our history and with the goal of showing the superiority of the Aristotelian paradigm over its contenders. There's more to read. Read the whole essay. It's linked today in the Church Doctrine email newsletter that went out this morning. That's where I got the quote of the day from Nathan Penkoski, Post-Liberalism's Reluctant Grandfather. This would take us all the way back to Joy Pullman. And the Western culture is effeminized, it's transgender. Because she pretty much is saying the same thing that Helen Andrews is saying. That these women that have taken over and have begun to exert their authority everywhere, do so not as women, but as fake men. There's one thing, there's a huge problem there, though. They don't have testosterone. They're not men. They're trying to act like men. And they get everything upside. They reverse everything. I think Joy Pullman says that in this piece. Also think Andrews is wrong to try to use sexual differences to explain the whole of identity politics. I just got notified. Maggie just told me that the phone is now restored. It is now working. Of course. Of course it's now working. Wokeness is not a new ideology, an outgrowth of Marxism, or a result of post-Obama disillusionment. It is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women were few in number until recently, Andrews claims. Then she talks more about this. Here, the most important sex difference in group dynamics is attitude to conflict. In short, men wage conflict openly, while women covertly undermine or ostracize their enemies. This is what Maggie and other women call passive-aggressive. Yet the manipulation, subversion, and covert treachery of cancel culture also wasn't started by women. It was started by men. I date it back to Machiavelli, the first prominent Western to abandon Christian virtues and argue for doing whatever worked to gain power. Her characterization above is a pretty apt description of the prince. And then she says more about this. Okay. Okay, so the good news is that the phone line is back working, correct? The bad news is that we're kind of late on time, but I didn't want to leave Trader Jill hanging, so let's go to and I'm happy that we have her here. I'm sorry that the phone line didn't get reset in time to actually make the date that we had agreed to. Leigh, are you there?
I'm here, Mike. How are you today?
I am so sorry about this stupid phone line. It really is the devil trying to it's the devil trying to subvert your appearance, because he doesn't want this word to get out of what you and I are going to talk about, and so he killed the equipment on us.
I mean, I kind of think you're right because that makes sense to me.
Well, and it happens at the most inopportune times, and it happens when you don't want it to happen, of course. And I knew yesterday, I should have said something yesterday when the little phone thing got knocked off its pedestal. I didn't think anything of it until this morning when you started saying, I'm getting voicemail. And I went, yeah, that's not good.
I'm like, what's going on? I keep going to voicemail every single time I call.
Well, and then this is it's a technical issue. But look, it worked itself out.
There you go, and we persevered.
And we have made it to the end. So we have made it. So do you have some time?
I sure do. Let's do it then.
All right, let's do this. Maggie, Magdalene Rose, our political affairs contributor, is on the other line. Okay, sure. We'll get her on tomorrow. All right. Let's start with your 2000. Let's start with the piece about the inversion of masculinity. See, this one is. Hold on, let me pull it up. All right. The War on Masculinity and the Rabbit Hole from 2023. You saw this. I know you saw the graph of the fertility rates and where the fertility rates are going. If you're conservative and you self-identify as conservative, your rate right now is 2.4 or 2.5. If you're a left-hard lunatic, it's 1.7, and it's on its way down. You have some similar graphs here. So what made you dive down this rabbit hole, and what did you discover?
In terms of fertility rates?
Well, no, in terms of the war on masculinity, because the fertility rate is related to the war on masculinity.
Okay. Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I read a book, The Anti-Mary. Did you ever see that?
Yes, Carrie Gress, my friend.
Yes. She's brilliant.
Yes.
And she laid it out in such an incredible manner. She connected all the dots and showed how between Cosmopolitan, Sue Ellen Browder, she wrote a book called Subverted, How I Helped the Sexual Revolution Hijack the Women's Movement. And this started back in late 60s, early 70s when a whole boardroom full of, I mean, there's no other way to put it other than these demonic women who decided that they were going to hijack women. And the best way to do that is FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So then they all colluded to try to rip the family unit apart, deconstruct the patriarchy. Now, every system, there's some difficulties. The patriarchy is no exception, right? Because back when women were kind of more stuck home, and it was actually less than people think. 33% of women still worked out of the home in the 50s. That was really more middle class and upper class. So it was not terribly uncommon for women to work outside the home, and that's something that people don't realize statistically. But having said that, they wanted to deconstruct, marriage and having children, and so they did this, and they pushed for abortion to be like, no, your body, your choice, and the sexual revolution, free love. So this Sue Ellen Browder worked with Cosmopolitan, and she point blank says in her book that she fabricated these stories of women as Cosmo girls, and they could be doctors, lawyers, judges, even high-profile call girls. The two things that they couldn't be: virgins and mothers, in order to be cool and a Cosmo girl. So they were pushing that, and this is what women were seeing when they were home stuck with kids. And everybody, I think most people can agree, being a mother and raising children, that's a job. That's a difficult job because kids will test you.
Yes, they will.
So you're looking at, you're doing the housework, the cooking, raising children, and a lot of times adult interaction was minimized, and women got lonely, and then they started getting Cosmo and seeing all of these things. And again, FOMO, fear of missing out. It's like, oh my gosh, I've been suppressed for this, so suppressed, and I feel like I want these things and I deserve these things. And that's not to say that women can't have these things, but demonizing virginity, motherhood, being a wife, I mean, it's completely deconstructing everything. And then the entire culture started jumping on board with this. Look at the sitcoms we see. Every sitcom is the secretly wise, accomplished mother, but for lack of a better word, the bumbling, fumbling, retarded husband that barely functions without her guidance.
So you want to hear something strange? You want to hear something cool? Sue Ellen Browder. I interviewed her when that book came out. I interviewed Carrie Gress, the Anti-Mary, when that book came out. I probably interviewed Carrie over that book a half a dozen times.
She's brilliant.
I don't remember because Sue Ellen Browder was back in 2015, 10 years ago, when the Crusade Channel launched. And until you just told me that story again just now, I didn't remember that. I didn't remember about the fact that she had made the stories up. Here from your research, though, Leigh. This is the most stunning graphic. Children living with a never married mother.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. You know, I had not seen this particular chart, and I've seen a lot of charts. In 1968, the first year, I guess, they started asking the question. Imagine that. No one even thought to ask the question until 1968. Say, Sonny, are you living with a never married mother? In 1968, the first year that the Census Bureau asked that question, they got a 7% answer. In 1969, they got a 6% answer. 6% of children were living with a never married mother. The last year that you have on your chart was 2014. That number is 48%. That's your societal problem right there. Fix that and fix America.
Yes, it's societal deconstruction. But when you keep saying that men are bad and you feminize them and then overly masculinize women, then we've got nonstop problems between the sexes. Everything is turned upside down. Children are left adrift. And my good friend Adam Coleman, he actually wrote a book pretty recently called The Children We Left Behind. And within the last couple of years, he found God. And, well, I mean, it wasn't that he, lost God. Like, he would talk about God when he was a kid, but he kind of came back and got baptized. And he speaks about how difficult life was with his mother trying to raise he and his sister, and all the negative aspects of society with a father that would just kind of show up in the picture and then disappear, and then show up and then disappear. So government is propping up, in the most demonic fashion possible, it's propping up women, single mothers, right? And what it's saying is, we will give you money as long as the man is, and the father of the child is not in the house.
Right.
So people are looking to survive, but that's the problem. They're only surviving. They're not thriving in any way, so it's not fixing anything. It's just perpetuating everything and making it worse.
So this is basically what I described yesterday as this is basically professional daycare. Okay, so they come up with the idea here. Now imagine you're in the 1960s and they tell you that your school, okay, you're going to have this place called a school. We're going to have these things called government-run schools. We're going to pass truancy laws, and we're going to make it mandatory now, which they did back in the 1920s. And we're going to take this money that you used to use to homeschool or to privately school your children. You're going to give it to us. We're going to hire this bureaucracy. We're going to pay all of them. Then what's left? We're basically laundering this money to this bureaucracy. With what little remains, we're going to trickle that down to this thing called the school system. And the school system then is going to basically act as a daycare center for all of you working, soon-to-be working mothers who are going to go, but where am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do with the children? Don't worry about the children. Drop them off at the government school. And there you go. Instant societal destruction.
Exactly. And imagine the level of propaganda that it took to twist women into believing that being a wife and a mother was the worst option.
I mean, what about the amount of propaganda that it took to sell the idea that women ought to throw abortion parties? The hell was happening with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you saw that in my piece, right?
Yes.
That's just it's so ghoulish that I can't even wrap my mind around it, and it was really difficult seeing that. It's just like, how can you wrap your mind around this? Because I'm sure you're a smart guy. I'm sure you've heard of the chimeraism. It doesn't matter whether a woman has ever aborted a baby, lost a baby, or delivered that baby. That baby's cells, some of them, stay inside of us for the rest of our lives.
1 in 4 women have had an abortion, according to Busy Phillips. Many people think they don't know someone who has, but hashtag you know me. You know, this is like the same demonic siren that was out there promoting the hashtag shout your abortion back in the day. Remember that witch?
Oh, yeah. It's the Jezebel and Lilith spirit, which exorcists say that the Lilith demonic spirit is the most difficult to exorcise.
See, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to kick an angry demonic siren out of your house.
I guess so. I think that men across the nation will agree with that. So we have this situation where women are so like, oh, girl boss, my body, my choice. Yes, but it's your body, your choice. But you don't have the choice to take the choice away from another being, and that's where we're at. So I'm faced with, I'll tell you a little personal anecdote. I have a 15-year-old daughter.
Yep.
And little girls, they kind of lean left, right, because they get very bleeding heart and whatnot. And she just broke up with her boyfriend yesterday. He was getting very physical with her. He was trying to force sex. And so we sat down and talked about not her rights, but her responsibilities. Because that's how I'm raising my daughter. I said, if you make this choice, and I'm telling you not to make this choice, because it will hurt you in ways that you cannot fathom. And it's easy for me to say that, but I've been your age, you've never been mine. And you need to understand that your body
what a line!
is a temple.
I've been your age, but you've never been mine. You got to put that on a meme.
Thanks. I got it from somewhere, so it's not really original. And I just kind of adopted it. But I told her, I said, your body and you, who you are, your love, everything about you, that's the only thing that you can ever give somebody else. And you will not have an abortion in my house. So if you screw that up and make that mistake, you will live with those consequences because your responsibilities exceed your rights, really.
Well, children, if you don't give them, the first thing you have to do is you have to give them boundaries. This is the failure of all these lunatics, Pink and the wife of Gillette Penn, and all these other celebrities that had that had these tranny children. Charlize Theron. Having two?
My gosh.
How is it possible that you have two? What got into your water tank?
Megan Fox has 3 boys that she's parading around as girls. They're using them as handbags and accessories as opposed to children. It's the sickest, most demonic thing I've ever seen in my life. We are actually, the modern-day Americans are out Aztecing the Aztecs.
Out Aztecing the Aztecs. And someone that has done a significant amount of radio and TV programs and shows talking about Tenochtitlan. That's the temple. The temple in Mexico City is Tenochtitlan, or that's the city where Tenochtitlan is. And they sacrifice to the god Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl is you can still go there today. I don't recommend it. Don't do it. But you can if you want to. You go to the Tenochtitlan pyramid, right, Jill? And at the bottom of Tenochtitlan pyramid is Quetzalcoatl, and it's the most hideous, horrific demon thing. Well, the Aztecs actually worshiped that thing. And guess what Quetzalcoatl ate? Babies. Bingo.
Yep.
Quetzalcoatl ate babies. And so when Cortez gets there, you got to put yourself in the frame of mind. Mel Gibson does a phenomenal job of this in Apocalypto. One of the most crypto-Catholic films ever made. What Gibson does in Apocalypto is show you what the world looks like without Christ in it. That's what he shows you, the picture of what Our Lady of Guadalupe came of what she appeared into, and then appeared as a guiding light, right, for all of those Mexicans and the 10 million or so that were baptized immediately thereafter. What Mel does is paint this picture, because the last scene of Apocalypto is what? It's the Aztec that has survived being hunted down by his own people, and they want to kill him, right? He has survived with his wife and the baby. This is the key part, with the baby. And they go all the way to the cliff as they're finishing their escape from the Aztecs that want to sacrifice them at the top of Tenochtitlan. And they get to the beach, and they look down onto the beach of Cozumel or wherever that was, and what's out in the water? 3 ships, 3 galleons, under Spanish sail with the crucifixes on the sails, and then the Spaniards are rowing to the shore. And you could see black robes. Look closely in that shot. You could see priests, Catholic priests in that ship with Cortez or whoever's in the ship. So, this is Mel painting the picture of what the Spaniards said, when they got here. We've outdone Tenochtitlan. 60 million plus abortions.
Yeah, I just don't know how anybody can look at this climate and I try to keep things as secular as I can to reach as many people as I can.
Sure.
Because they've done their job in driving people away from God. But I do put up plenty of Christian posts and prayers and things of that nature. But when I'm trying to convince somebody of an argument, I'm not saying, look, this is demonic influences, but we know that it is. Nobody can convince me otherwise. Like this rabid Jew hatred, it's to the point where it's gotten really, really sick. And I'm like, this is a little World War II-ish, don't you think, guys?
Well, there's several different elements to that, and as you say, how can you imagine existing or flourishing in that climate? Well, you can't. There is no flourishing. No. That's the point. It's the war. The war on masculinity is the war on flourishing. And as Joy Pullman's pointing out at the Federalist today, in Western culture isn't feminized, it's transgender. It's the exact opposite of feminine. If you had a feminine culture, you'd have babies everywhere.
Absolutely true. There is one point that I would like to make. So how did we get here? Yes, women have been the driving force, and the nefarious actors of the world knew what the Achilles heel was for men. And so you have 2 different men. So the bad guys that really just wanted to get laid, they're like, yep, girl power. You know what I mean? So they just phoned it in. They're like, sexual revolution, we're there for you, girl.
Sign me up!
Exactly. So there were plenty of guys like that. And then the good guys didn't want to fight with women because that's not your nature. Your nature is your driving nature is to protect. So what happened is most of men just either one segment of men threw up their hands and are like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this. Whatever makes you happy, honey. And then the other one is like, yeah, let's get in on that. So the vast majority of men, we can lay the problems at women's feet, men sat back and let it happen. Because the reality is the masculine was always meant to enfold and protect the feminine. But a woman's mind is like a herd of cats tied with their tails together because we think in past, present, and future. Trust me, as a man, you do not want to be inside my head. Like, too many things are rolling around in there, and I'm like, oh my God, I just need a Thorazine drip. So I make the joke to my brothers, I'm like, all women are crazy. It's just how functional we are during the day. And so women will get really mad at me and push back on that, but it's still kind of true. But the male brain is very more black and white, more linear thinking, which is why men always need women to soften them, and then women always need men to, I'm trying to find the right word for that. I guess soften us too and calm the raging storm that's going on in our emotions and feelings and our brains.
Well, then the other part, on the Dude Maker hotline with Trader Jill, also known as Leigh on X.com here, on the Mike Church Show, and talking about where the wheels came off the culture, and the wheels came off the culture. Most people think in the 1960s, though, it goes back long before that. But the 60s, certainly, you got the radicalization of women. And that required women to buy into it, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You couldn't just have what's her name, Kate Millett. You couldn't just have Kate Millett and this gang of angry, ugly women sitting around a table worshiping a snake and talking about abortion and contraception and no-fault divorce that was coming down the pike and all that. You had to have enough women to line up to actually say, like, well, I want some of that. How do I partake in that? So how did they do that?
They ghoulishly tapped into all of our baser natures. They really did. The fear of missing out, it's like, oh, I want that. So in this comparison, I actually made a post today, or last night. I said, don't compare yourself to other people because you may be where God placed you, but you're looking at them where the devil placed them, and it's not the same thing.
So, okay, let's go back to the let's go back to the daughter. You had the opportunity to basically carry on the work of the Kate Millets and of the anti-feminists, the anti-Mary revolution. When did you come to the determination that you weren't going to let that happen, that it ends here with my daughter in this generation?
Well, funny you should ask that because I'll get a little vulnerable here and I'll tell you what happened to me. So I love my mother very much. She is very left-leaning. And I was not raised to be taught about my responsibility, only my rights. And I got pregnant very young, and I went to her for guidance. And she drove me to the abortion clinic, and I had an abortion. And it destroyed my soul.
Wow.
And so, and I kind of tucked that away for years until I was pregnant with my daughter. And as I'm watching on Baby Center just how fast that quote-unquote little clump of cells was a little person, I can't even put into words what it did to me. And so I sat my daughter down and I said, this is my experience. This is what happened. And if you get in trouble like this, this will happen to you. And then I showed her the scientific, the video of when life happens, that big, bright flash of light.
Yep.
I said, they can't explain that, baby. That's a life. That's the moment that soul goes into that little egg.
That's an incredible story. That's an incredible admission. Have you had a conversation with your mother about this since? I'm sure you had. How did that go?
We don't talk about it. So it's one of those things where if I want to have a relationship with my mom, I can't talk to her about any principles like this. Otherwise, we don't talk for 10 years at a time. And, biblically, we're to honor our fathers and mothers. And I'm doing the best that I can with that. She's still very pro-abortion. And every time she talks about it, it's like digging into that age-old wound. It's what she believes. I fervently believe deep in my heart and in my soul that she's wrong, and I pray all the time that she realizes that someday.
Let's talk about the flip side of this and the other little piece of research that you did. So how did society convince the men? Because here on the other thread is the research on hookup culture, low testosterone. First of all, last time you and I talked, we talked about how the hospitals are trying to kill people, basically, and stay away unless you absolutely have to, and then find one that's not in the business of killing people. Is low testosterone environmental, or you've done some research on this. What would you tell someone if they said, why are people in the Western world or in the United States, why is there, even in young men, why is there such an incidence now of low testosterone?
There's actually a lot of reasons. The garbage that they dump in our food and water, microplastics, and they're encouraging this lifestyle where everybody sits around all day on their phones. They've proven that exercise and weightlifting, it dramatically elevates testosterone. And back in the day, men did a lot of physical labor. but they're not doing that near that level of physical labor anymore. So with all of these factors coming in, it's dropping bad. And when boys are told from the time that they can hear and understand speech that they're barely contained rapists, they're scared. They're scared all the time because at any moment, any woman can ruin any boy's life with just the accusation. So imagine that guillotine hanging over your head all the time. Because I have 5 brothers, and I remember this girl, one of my youngest brother's girlfriends, was starting to beat on him, and she was like, "Go ahead and call the police because they won't believe that it was me doing it to you."
Ugh.
And this is the really dark side of female privilege. And I often say that when women go bad, it's a lot more severe than when men go bad because we're calculating and we're patient.
But what has been sold popularly in culture, certainly, or our lack of culture, it's actually anti-cult in Hollywood, is that it's the guy that has the midlife crisis. It's never the woman. It's the dude that leaves the woman with the 4 children and the responsibility and all that, and walks out and marries the 20-year-old trophy babe. It's never the woman that's the fault of hers or is the cause of all this, and she certainly never leaves. I know 2 instances right now. I can tell you personally, I know 2 instances where the wives have left the home, told the husband they didn't want to be married anymore, that they were finished with it, and just walked out and just left him with the family and the kids.
So funny you should say that, because my most recent social experiment, I went undercover on Ashley Madison. Do you know what that is?
I do. Here, let's reset this for our audience's sake and pretend like they don't know anything.
Okay.
Ashley Madison, and by the way, if you want a little barometer on just how bad Ashley Madison is, Howard Stern at one point in time, until someone at the FCC said something, Howard Stern used to do on-air live radio ads for Ashley Madison. I know this because I was asked to do them. So a certain radio company, who I shall not name, decided that any source of revenue was a source of revenue and that they would do ads for Ashley Madison. And they asked all of us. I'm like, no way, Jose. Well, you're going to read your contract. I'm like, I don't care what it says. Not going to do it. So, Jill, Leigh, what is Ashley Madison?
Ashley Madison is the dating site for cheaters. And I actually, believe it or not, I actually walked away from that experiment with more sympathy than I thought I would have, honestly, because these guys, now you're always going to have a certain percentage that are just psychopaths that, new whatever. Right. Anything new is great, and they don't realize that it's just shredding their souls, or they're narcissists or psychopaths or whatever. Right. You're always going to have that certain segment. They don't represent the whole. So largely these men that are on that site, it's because they were in an extremely abusive relationship. Their wives have stopped touching them, sleeping with them, whatever. And biblically, it talks about we are not supposed to withhold our bodies from our husband or wife. That's both. And, I mean, obviously that goes into men have to love their wife like Jesus loved the church. You don't push that on her if she's got the flu. That's not loving your wife like Jesus loved the church. So nobody just has to be essentially an unpaid prostitute. That's not what anybody's saying, but it has to come from a foundation of love. So that deconstructs men at their very foundation. They don't feel loved, wanted, supported. So then it drives them to make the worst decisions possible. The other reason was they didn't want to lose their kids, which it doesn't matter what state it is. Our court system automatically, almost always, awards custody of the children to the mother, whether she can support them or not.
And this is of course, then you have this final kind of like leftover vestige of the good old days. Well, you know, you don't want to separate the children from their mother. You know, the moms do the nurturing and what have you here. And in a perfect world in society, that's true, and you don't have no-fault divorce. So no one is appearing in front of a judge, in front of a magistrate to make the example. I can tell you, here in the state of Louisiana, they tried to deal with this, and they passed a statute called the relocation statute. And basically, the relocation statute was written for men. It was written for the fathers. Yeah. Relocation statute says the woman cannot take the children and leave the state of Louisiana and relocate without the court's permission. And to do so, you have to prove that that leaving the state will not cause irreparable harm to the children. In other words, he really would have to be a low-life deadbeat in order for you to leave the state. So if you got a good dad and you want to press the case here in the state of Louisiana, I don't know, you're in Florida, I think, so I don't know what kind of law they have in Florida, but we have a relocation statute. I actually had to use it. So I can tell you that the relocation statute was made for me. It was made for guys like me. And that has been, I think, an appropriate response. But really, the real appropriate response is get rid of no-fault divorce.
Yeah, and we have to stop looking at it like, this believe all women and the suggestion that women are born with halos around our ovaries. That doesn't work like that. Where we can be just as evil, just as manipulative, just as psychopathic as any bad man can.
No.
And that's the reality of the situation. Anybody can be bad or go bad or be a bad parent or be a bad person. I have an embarrassingly checkered past. That
we all do, ma'am.
Right,
we all do.
But I can tell you that God has made tremendous strides in my life. And so I chose to break these cycles that ran rampant through my family for my daughter. But you actually have to let God in, and every aspect of our society is pushing God out of it.
By the way, follow Jill on X.com. She is at Real Trader Jill, and you'll get this wonderful little video of a young lady riding Western style in a long country dress, riding rodeo and shooting all at the same time. Maggie, what competition is that? You're a rodeo. I've never seen the one where you ride the barrels and shoot at them at the same time. They got balloons on them. Jeez. All right. Let's stay on the same subject with Trader Jill here on the Mike Church Show. So they had to convince the men into all this as well. And on the graphic that you made, low testosterone, fatherless homes, social media. You know, I said this 5-6 years ago, and I've been expounding upon it ever since, or maybe even 8 years ago. Social media was not meant and was not created to promote the good, the true, and the beautiful. Social media was made to promote the opposite. It was made to promote things that are not possible to promote in a good civil society. Now, can you infiltrate it and use it for good? Yes, you can. But it was actually made to facilitate the promotion of evil, and it's done a damn good job at it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
you don't need Ashley Madison when you have social media. Trust me on that.
No, absolutely. And by the way, as my philosophia perennis or philosophy instructor would say, Brother Francis, the tree does not need you to exist. The tree does not need you to be beautiful. Is it beautiful because you looked at it and you declared that it was beautiful, or did God make it beautiful? Kind of like this is the reality. This is the esse percipe, I believe in the Latin. That this is the essence of reality. That whether I see, and this is I talked about Immanuel Kant earlier. The tree will exist whether a human gazes upon it or not. The tree's existence is not contingent upon my looking at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's reality. And the reality, in other words, the good, the true, and the beautiful come to us from God because He loves us.
Absolutely. But these algorithms are pushing the worst of humanity.
Yes.
They're only allowing people get upset when they keep crushing our reach, our impressions, things like that. And they push us into rage bait, rage porn, because that's the only thing that gets views. The only thing that keeps people from just diving down into the darkness is a really solid group of people that are like, hey, are you sure you should post that? And then pull you back from it.
Did you see I know you did. You saw the post from the guy that said, okay, I decided to do an experiment with Elon's new algorithm, and I went base for a couple of days. I went scorched earth. And yeah, my clicks and my likes went up. But then I decided, okay, now that I've got a little attention here on my feed, I'm going to back off. I'm going to go back to being nice me, genial me. And the guy said he went back to doing it, and he resorted to being nobody again.
Exactly.
And that the algorithm actually rewarded his anger and his and him going scorched earth.
Oh, and promiscuity, because I think announced it a week or two ago that I was not going to put any more pictures up of myself. And the only reason why I did it was to drive engagement anyway. But I'm like, isn't that kind of embracing the Jezebel spirit, right? And I'm like, if I want to hold a certain set of ideals, I need to reflect that. And I realized that I was not reflecting that.
Yeah, and this guy, by the way, did not. He only has, I say only. Who am I to talk? He has 2,500 followers on his X, but in that particular thread, he got a couple of 100,000 views. Because it was a moment of actual honesty and clarity. For example, yet I wonder if he's going to swear off going to scorched earth or going to scorched earth. Because it seems to me
he's going to keep getting pulled back into it because our bodies work against us. When biblically it talks about the flesh, I actually found some interesting discoveries, and I shared this with my daughter too. When we have sex, women fall in love, so they produce massive quantities of oxytocin. And so these neurotransmitters, oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, they drive a lot of human behavior, and you have to see it for what it is, and you're like, okay, am I really doing the right thing? Am I really saying the right thing? Is my body just betraying us? There's a really good reason that biblically they keep talking about the flesh and getting past the flesh.
Speaking of, and then getting past the flesh, what's the result of this infatuation or this obsession with sex? Well, the result, if you're not willing to contracept or abort, is babies. Number of families with a single mother in the United States, 1990 to 2021. In 1990, and this is in thousands, so I guess this would make 1 million. So 11,268. I guess we had three zeros to that, so 11,268,000. In 2021, 15,462. So 15 million. So that's a 50%, roughly. That's a 40% increase in 30 years.
Right. Shocking, isn't it?
Well, this is the problem for what has happened. How do you put that toothpaste back in the tube? Here's a question for you. You're of dating age, kind of, right? You have a daughter. So are there enough good men out there to find women like you and say, like, you know what? I don't care what happened in the past. Let's talk about our future together as husband and wife.
I'm kind of exhausted by it. I'm shell-shocked. I've been taken for a ride the last couple of times, and then last year was one of the worst ever.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go into details, because I believe in everybody's right to privacy, and it's not up to me to malign somebody else. At least I don't feel that it is, and I try not to be that kind of person. I mean, there are plenty of good men and plenty of good women, and you're always going to get women that will point to men, and always men that will point to women. There's problems across the board with the sexes, but it boils down to we're far too focused on our rights and not our responsibilities, not just to ourselves, other people, society, to our children. It's like, what are we trying to put out into the world? What are we trying to achieve? And far too many people are not thinking about that. They're self-involved and egocentric.
Now, another, I say claim because that's just the parlance of our time. Another claim that you make on your X feed yesterday is that hookup culture has gotten so out of control that women are only sleeping with the highly desirable Chads of the world. What's a Chad?
He's going to be very outwardly charming, good-looking, accomplished, but he doesn't have honest intentions.
Okay.
You're just, a notch on the bedpost.
That then leads to conditioning via. Okay, I'm not familiar. What is the term simping? What does that mean?
Okay, so whenever I put up a post, and I actually discuss men and women, but there's so much hatred for women. Only talking about women gains traction. Men get very petty, very petulant, very bitter when I talk about them at all. But when I do mention women, then there's always a percentage that's like, but men do it too. Okay, well, I'm not talking about men right now. You don't need to abase yourself like this because I talk about, men too. And that's really kind of simping. There's a difference between a nice guy and a good man. A nice guy will let the wolf eat you because he's just afraid of offending the wolf, right? A good man is going to battle that wolf to the death.
So the good man will take the wolf out. Now, okay. Let's talk about how does that apply to younger people? Like, just say, for example, you have a 26-year-old son. I just happen to know some.
Okay.
You have a 26-year-old son who keeps dipping his hand, if you will, or his toe into the dating pool. Mm-hmm. And here's what he finds primarily when he dips his toe into the dating pool. He finds that there are a majority of young women out there that already have at least one child, most of them one child, and are having to make a go of it as a single mother. And the young man is not sure whether or not he wants to commit to the role of being a stepdad and then marrying the woman. This is the real problem. I don't know how to solve it.
Well, it's just okay. So there's a couple of components here. I wanted to take this in multiple directions until you moved into the single motherhood. First, I will tell you that a man's greatest power is the word no. Okay. And they don't understand that. And my first social experiment was going undercover on a dating website pretending to be a man. And I wanted to see and understand what they were going through. I'm like, are you just whining? Are women holistically really all that bad? Yes and no. So on the dating site, 50% of the interactions that came my way is I ran two profiles. There was the low-value guy, the high-value guy. Okay. And so 50% of all the interaction that I got was low-value women or bots, hookers, people sugar babies trying to find a sugar daddy, just very low quality. So if you take that into account, that means that only 50% of what they get is worthwhile. But I stumbled into actually kind of an interesting phenomenon. So when women started throwing their weight around, So I remember a man, I kind of did that. It's almost like we subconsciously test men. Okay. Like, are you going to stand up to me? Are you strong enough? And I remember The last guy, like when I would get a little pushy or a little crazy, he just didn't engage with it at all. And do you know what happened? I immediately changed my behavior. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. So men have a lot more power over women than they realize they do, and that's the problem. So in the social experiment, I was like, if that worked on me, I wonder, is it just me or is it women in general? So there's about 30 or 40 different women that started to get a little crazy, started throwing their weight around. And so I was like, listen, and you can do this nicely and respectfully. Correct behavior. You say, listen, Susan, this could be just a one-off,
Karen.
right? You could just be,
Karen.
you could just be having a bad day. But the way that you're being right now, that's not going to work for me. And I'm completely willing to write this day off as just, just a bad moment. But if this is who you are, I'm going to have to wish you the best and move on. And with the exception of just one rainbow-haired lunatic, every one of those women were like, oh, yeah, I was having a bad day. And they immediately self-corrected.
So I
was like, oh, my God.
I want everyone to take in what Leigh just said, because you may have missed it. So she's masquerading on a dating site as a dude. She's getting these inquiries, or is making inquiries to these women, and the women are starting to get pushy and bossy and demanding. And when Jill, acting as a dude, pushes back and goes like, "Yeah, sorry, babe, I can't go there. If this is the real you, then I wish you the best of luck, but we're gonna have to call this quits." And then the strangest thing happened, that women's behavior began to change, so as to accommodate the manly man's assertions that, well, if you want me to hang around, then I don't like this, that, and the other. Let me ask you, did you ever reveal to any of them that they'd been basically they were part of a social experiment?
Okay, a couple of them, at first, because I want to be honest, but they got so upset and so bad, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell any more of them because, just for their sanity. So they didn't, but I always gave them all closure. I was like, listen, I met somebody, I kind of concocted a story to give them closure. Not trying to lie to them, but just be like, you're an amazing girl, but, somebody took my heart and blah, blah, blah. And so then they seemed all okay with that. It's giving them closure without getting them upset, because nobody likes to feel played.
Right. I'll add one more little small ingredient to this. I'm always surprised by the amount of people that I know you would say, if I introduce you to them and you learned a little bit about them, you would put them in the FBI's RTC category, Radical Traditional Catholic category. I am surprised by the amount of them that I meet, and it's not a knock on them. It's just completely and totally an observation. But I'm surprised. I'm shocked by how many of them actually met on social media dating sites.
Oh yeah. And it's because you start with conversation. A lot of men don't realize that you appeal to a woman's mind before you ever appeal to anything else. And so social media kind of opens the door for that.
But I guess my surprise is that there aren't single women who you would qualify or the FBI would classify as RTCs that are in RTC-like environments. So, when they break church attendance down these days, and they do break it down by gender, and I haven't seen the stats lately, but I would wager that if you're talking about single people, young men are actually going to and are looking in their church groups, whether this is traditional, radical traditional Catholic, or whether it's evangelical. They're in the group and they're looking. But it seems as though that's not where the young ladies are. And again, I don't know how to fix that. But and you would hope that meeting in person is the way. Not that there's any right or wrong way. And I guess these days you can't have a right or a wrong way. But it seems to me that if young men are going back to being productive, and they're pursuing lives, like I said, they're learning how to weld and build houses and stuff, or become pipe fitters or plumbers or whatever, and they're working outside of the house with their hands. If their hands are busy, they don't have time to have that smartphone in their hand. They don't have X accounts. They're not following Real Trader Jill. They don't have time.
Right.
And if they are, they don't have time to communicate. But maybe on the way home from work days, or they stop, or they go to whatever church function, or on a Sunday, or after Sunday, or in places where they actually see people in person, they might meet someone.
So it's a multi-dimensional, multi-level problem. I think it starts with this. Men have to learn to start saying no. They're so afraid of missing out, and I'll tell you why. Because female privilege, if I wanted to, I could have sex tonight.
Yep.
And without a target, I could have sex tonight and be in a relationship tomorrow. And that is female privilege. Male privilege is a reasonable sense of safety wherever they go.
And that's why the porn industry was so successful, because it took advantage of that. And it went like, oh, yeah? Well, you want to have it? Well, here you go. You have to have it alone, but that's okay.
So men have lost holistically. Remember, statistically, there's a large percentage of outliers. We'll say a lot. A lot of men have lost self-discipline and valuing what they bring to the table. We also have a huge number of people, men and women, who've let themselves go. And so and I always tell my daughter and anybody else that your body is your temple. And I used to tip 300 pounds. I'm not super thin right now. I'm thin, and I'm thinner, much thinner than that.
Right.
But still, your body is your temple for the Holy Spirit, and you don't crap on your temple. So...
No, this is true. All right, we're just about out of time. I have one final thread or question, field of inquiry I'd like to explore with Trader Jill. You can find her hiding in plain sight on X. She's at Real Trader Jill. And, of course, you hear her here on the Crusade channel often. How'd you like the new scripts that I sent?
I actually haven't seen them yet. They're in my inbox. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't looked at them yet, but I will.
Well, I have taken advantage of your significant talents, and I have written parts for you now that I know you much better than I did 3 months ago. It's easier for me to write comedy for someone that I know a little bit about. Because
you're pretty great about letting me, shift things around.
well, no, because I recognize the talent. I go, I just need to get her in the ballpark. It's been a
lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it is a lot of fun, and they sound fun. They're fantastic. Of course, you're working with the greatest audio mind that is alive, with Jim Mosher.
Oh yeah, Jim is brilliant.
Genius, and he paid me to say that, but I'm gonna say that again.
But but I did want to before we sign off. I did want to drive this point home. Men have to value themselves enough to eat at a different table when somebody is serving them poison. And right now, holistically, they don't.
Good point. No, we'll drive it home, and we'll continue the conversation. But what I wanted to know is, or I wanted to ask you, as I asked my political affairs contributor, Magdalene Rose, questions about this, she doesn't like what Candace Owens has done lately, R.E. Charlie Kirk. Now, I follow you, so I saw some of what you had to say yesterday about Candace, and I think that if her intent was to get us all talking about her, she's been a massive genius, a genius program. But Cat Turd, now, I couldn't tell. Is Cat Turd pro, or is he kind of like, all right,
no,
Candace, just shut up.
Not.
Just shut up. We've had enough.
Yeah, he's kind of sick of Tucker and Candace, just like I am, because what they've done is what all great propagandists through history have done. Like, they started off appealing to the vast majority of us, and we're like, okay, I like them. And it's very hard. The human animal doesn't like to change, right? So when we like somebody, we're loyal. But they've jumped the shark so badly now that people are leaving them in droves. But Candace is now number 2 on Spotify, and what she's done is, especially with this Tyler Robinson thing, is she has injected enough truth with the utterly insane things to make her sound credible. So she's suggesting that she is going to defy a gag order. Well, to my knowledge, and this is just to my knowledge, I could be wrong, she is not susceptible to that gag order because she was not a witness, because she wasn't there. So when she's posturing and saying, I'll defy a gag order for the people and the truth, if you weren't there and you're not a witness, you're not defying anything, you're just lying.
And that's pretty much what the judge said. And, I talked about it because we broadcast that whole hearing when he said he was issuing a gag order and that he was advising both counsels that you are being advised, and he looked at the defense, you are being advised that, yes, I am aware that the potential for witnesses numbers into the thousands, and I'm gagging them. And I am ordering you that if in discovery you discover things, you may not disclose it. That's who the order, unless I read it wrong, but that's who the order.
No, and I posted it, exactly. I posted, and I know that you shared it on the Crusade Network. So this is, so she's twisted people's brains to the point where they think that they are owed this discovery information before the trial even starts. But the whole point is to not taint the jury pool. And you don't want some whacked out podcaster to do that.
Well, some people will remember this. Okay, in order for the prosecutor to get a murder one on Tyler Robinson, you're going to have an autopsy report. Mm-hmm. A coroner is going to have to say, yeah, I believe that my examination shows that the projectile came from an elevated position. I don't know the exact distance, but the angle of entry and then the angle of exit shows me that it is in line with the roof line of the Yost, what is it, the Yost building? With the roof line of the Yost building, yes, I conclude that he was shot from that angle. You're going to have that. Then I'd imagine that there will be autopsy photos. People are screaming, we demand the autopsy. You are in no position to demand that. You know that the widow of Dale Earnhardt, this is a famous case, went all the way to the Supreme Court. The widow of Dale Earnhardt, there were same people that were demanding that they had a right because he was a public figure to see the autopsy photos and the death photos of Dale Earnhardt. And Teresa Earnhardt was like, no, you're not, ever. No one's ever going to see them. And she got sued. She got sued by media groups that were going to publish these photos, and she won. Ultimately, no, she won.
That's sick.
The privacy of the Earnhardt family to be the only people, or they can choose who could ever see the photos of Dale Earnhardt, was upheld in several courts. I'm trying to remember who it was that sued. Whoever it was that sued, they lost.
We have this very Roman Colosseum arena mindset. We're so addicted to outrage that we think that we're entitled to know everything, and we are not. And it's gotten so far off the rails that it's turned people crazy. And I blame COVID, really, because we saw in living color the government lying to us all day, every day. And as we kept debunking it, we kept showing it was poison. It was ineffective poison, and it was created in a lab. It was spliced with HIV to attack system-wide. So all of these things are true, but they deplatformed us, they silenced us, they told us, don't believe your lying eyes and your lying ears. So what is the result of that? Nobody believes anything anymore. And they think that their little research is what really the truth is, but they're wrong. They don't know what they're saying most of the time.
Well, that is true of almost the entire COVID, the COVID example.
It's broken everybody's brains.
Well, it has, and it's certainly. And look who COVID principally attacked. It attacked the children. It said, "No, you're not having your childhood. No, we constructed this public school system and a social networking thing to convince your the mothers to give us control of you, and it worked." But now we have new fish to fry and a new world to take over and more people's lives to destroy. You're inconvenienced to that, so no, you can't go to school. We're not going to let you.
Right. So what is the result? We have these reckless podcasters that are coming out without the expertise, without the knowledge. And I use the word expertise in quotation marks because everybody can read. It doesn't mean that you understand what you're reading, though. And that's the problem.
True.
They're coming out with reckless information where it's half-baked, it's not fully formed, and the things that she's saying about the gun, the doctor came out like within a day or two and said this was a miracle that it didn't go all the way through and kill somebody else. The doctor said that within a day.
So, and again, it contributed to the mass hysteria and the mass cynicism out there. Believe me, I deal with it all the time. There are people that are living not happy lives, and they're living not happy lives because they're ignoring Saint Padre Pio, and they're not praying, hoping, and not worrying. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Instead, there's a conspiracy behind every tree. The Khazarians are coming to get us, and no one is to be trusted. And you can't have a society, Leigh, without trust. I've been doing this simple example for 34 years on radio. I'll give you the simple example. You and I are driving together with Maggie in the car and our children and your daughter, and we're going on a little afternoon adventure somewhere. We're on a 2-lane highway that's yellow striped. A car is coming toward us at 70 miles an hour. I'm going 70 miles an hour. If I live in a society that doesn't have any trust whatsoever, I just veer off the road and kill all of us because I'm convinced that guy's going to do it first.
Exactly. We can't live. Doesn't the Bible say over 300 times, do not fear?
And every angel that appears says what? Do not fear.
Do not be afraid.
Do not be. No, don't run. I'm an angel, dude. Don't be.
Exactly. And so people don't like. People are so terrified of being duped and being wrong that they're being duped and they're being wrong.
Well, they don't trust good people like us anymore.
I guess not. So I like to explore both sides. Society as a whole needs a little bit of humility. It doesn't matter what I say online. If you can prove that I am wrong, I will absolutely retract in a second. I would rather be correct than appear to be correct.
Me too. Well, that's our position as well. All right, everybody, you can follow @RealTraderJill on X.com. That's @RealTraderJill. Of course, Mel, we had the video evidence here, and we will republish it on X.com. Turn it into a podcast as well for those of you that just like the audio version. And let's make a plan. We made a plan in September to do it in October. Let's make a plan in October. Oh, you have to come for the 10th anniversary show. Even if it's for 5 minutes, you have to make a call.
I will do my best.
I'm going to give you the date, November the 11th. It's Tuesday, November the 11th. So, and, especially now that you're a part of the team. But we'll do this again in November. And I think we should do one because you are a bit of a self-taught expert, and I love the subject. I think we should talk about the Crusades. And
oh my gosh, I love the Crusades.
Oh my Lord, you blew me away with what you told the Mohammedan on X.com. No, get that crap out of here. No, you're not the defenders of the holy relic. Shut up.
Right. Well, yeah, when you destroy it with fire and then rebuild it, okay? What are you saying right now? We don't have enough people that push. Now, I had to look that up. That just didn't come off the top of my head.
I know, but I love your courage and just going
no,
get that, swat that out of here. We should talk about the Crusades next time.
Oh, I think that would be great because I know Jim mentioned doing some sort of an AI production where I narrate it. I think he said something about that.
Well, the thread that you put out 2 months ago was fantastic. We could just start there. It's a fantastic
thanks.
subject.
Well, they suppress everything that I put out now, so apparently AI has decided that I'm not good content.
No suppression here, Leigh, and glad to have you. Well, look, God bless and Mary keep you, and thank you for, look, you powered on through today. It looked bleak at 8 a.m., but here we are at 10, and we got an hour in of real
There you
trader
go.
drill. So thank you very much. God bless you. We'll talk to you real soon.
And you too, Mike. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Folks, that's going to wrap the program up because I am out of time. Imagine that. If news breaks out, we will break in. Here on the Crusade Channel, really, the donation bucket being empty is really, really troubling today. Can you help a brother or Brista sister out? CrusadeChannel.com/donate. Shop in the store. Shop.mikechurch.com as well. Become a Founders Pass member at CrusadeChannel.com/join. God bless you. Merry keep you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Our app and always on Crusade.